Chapter 2163. Two figures appeared beside Lin Tian, Little Taichu, and White Tiger. Both of them were old men. One of them was dressed in a brocade robe, while the other was dressed in a gray robe. As soon as they appeared, the three heaven masters of the celestial court, who were attacking Lin Tianyi, and the others were sent flying. The Saint power-killing light that the three of them had unleashed was naturally dispersed in the blink of an eye. Heavenly Master! The other experts of the celestial court were shocked. The three heaven masters of their lineage were all powerful existences of the heavenly master realm, but now they were sent flying so easily. Lin Tian was also shocked. Then he looked at the two people who suddenly appeared beside him. His gaze fell on the gray-robed old man, and he could not help but be shocked. "Old man, it's you." The gray-robed old man was obviously the heartless old hooligan. He did not expect to see him in the bound of universe. "Yeah." Little Taichu widened his eyes in surprise. Even White Tiger was surprised. It was really unexpected for the old hooligan to suddenly appear at this place at this time. "That's me." The old hooligan approached Lin Tian and stretched out his hands to pinch Lin Tian's face. "I didn't expect you to be a reincarnated being. I was really blind in the past." As he spoke, he rubbed his hands and looked at Lin Tian with a smile. "Speaking of which, we're not strangers. Since we're so familiar with each other, how about I borrow half of your reincarnation origin?" The news that Lin Tian was a reincarnated being had long spread in the celestial realm of nothingness, so the old hooligan naturally knew about it. Lin Tian looked at the old man and almost couldn't resist the urge to kick him when he heard his words. "Get lost! This old man is still so wicked. He wants to borrow half of the origin. I might as well strangle him to death." As he spoke, his gaze involuntarily fell on the old man in a brocade robe who appeared with the old hooligan. He asked the old hooligan, "This is?" "Well, you're not a stranger to this. You've met him before." The old hoodlum said. "The primitive emperor has barely recovered." Listening to the old hooligan's words, Lin Tian was immediately moved. This brocade-robed old man is the primitive emperor? The owner of the founding emperor token? "Greetings, senior." Immediately he bowed. When he first obtained the origin emperor's token, that ancient token had helped him through several crises. Now that he had met the owner of the origin emperor's token, he naturally couldn't be rude. Beside him, Little Taichu and White Tiger were also surprised. They knew about the primitive emperor token and had heard about the primitive emperor from the old gangsters. They didn't expect to see him in person today. "No need to be so polite." The primitive emperor smiled warmly like an ordinary old man and said, "If it wasn't for you obtaining the primitive emperor token and handing it over to me, I'm afraid I would still be a remnant soul and a remnant consciousness. I should thank you for that." Lin Tian couldn't help but blush with shame. He actually obtained the primitive emperor token by accident and didn't help the other party much. At this time, in the distance, the three lords of the celestial court stabilized their bodies. They originally wanted to rush forward again, but when they heard the introduction of the primitive emperor by the old gangster and Lin Tian, they couldn't help but tremble, and their faces changed. Primitive emperor? Back then, the one from the primitive universe. Lord Taimu opened his mouth, and his voice couldn't help but tremble. Then, in the next moment, this ascending heaven existence and the other two lords turned around and fled without any hesitation. This scene moved Lin Tian. Those three were all ascending heaven experts, but now, after hearing the introduction of the primitive emperor by the old gangster, they were scared to the point of fleeing. "Yeah." Little Taichu was a little surprised. White Tiger was also slightly surprised and moved by this scene. The other celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court who came to this place were naturally surprised by this scene. The three lords of the celestial court actually fled at this time. The sound of the three lords of the celestial court breaking through the air was very loud, and in the blink of an eye, they crossed a great distance and tore open the world barrier. However, at this time, three faint lights flew out from the primitive emperor's side and instantly entered the bodies of the three lords of the celestial court. In an instant, the three ascending heaven existences exploded together, and even their divine souls were crushed, their bodies and souls destroyed. Then, In the next moment, another faint light appeared beside the primitive emperor, turning into a wave of light that spread out. Puff, puff, puff. In this place, the other celestial soldiers and celestial generals collapsed one after another, and all of them were annihilated in an instant. Hiss! Looking at this scene, the white tiger couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. 3 ascending heaven lords and a group of celestial soldiers and celestial generals who were at least Saint King level were all annihilated in an instant. So strong. It stared. This kind of battle strength was a little frightening. Even Lin Tian was surprised. This primitive emperor was actually so strong. Then, he looked at the old hoodlum. The old hoodlum and the primitive emperor were good friends, so the old hoodlum's true strength should be on par with the primitive emperor. This unscrupulous old man was actually so strong. But back then, he only fought to a draw with the Chaos King, who was a celestial emperor. Could it be that he had been injured all this time, and his strength was far from his peak state? Then he thought of what the old man said to him back then, saying that he had accidentally destroyed a great world comparable to the celestial world of nihility in his sleep. He didn't believe it at that time, but now it seemed that this was true. Old man, you and Senior Primitive Emperor, who are you guys? He couldn't help but ask the old hoodlum. The old hoodlum didn't answer the question after hearing it, but bared his teeth, pointed at the primitive emperor, and stared at Lin Tiandao. Kid, what do you mean by calling me old man and him senior? Lin Tian, if you want me to call you senior, you should act like one. How can I call you senior with your attitude? He couldn't help but roll his eyes. He was telling the truth. This old man was not serious at all. Facing this old man, he really couldn't call him senior. I feel the same, White Tiger said from the side. Little Taichu nodded his little head and said with a childish voice, Yeah, I thought so too. Beside him, the primitive emperor looked at the old hoodlum and said with a smile, I've told you before, pay attention to your image. F***. This is my true nature. The old hoodlum glared angrily, then paused and looked at the primitive emperor and said, Speaking of which, your body has just been formed, and your divine soul, Saint Force, and so on are not stable yet. Don't make a move if you can at this stage. Don't fall apart accidentally, and it will take a lot of effort. It's fine. The primitive emperor smiled. Beside him, Lin Tian couldn't help but be shocked. The current primitive emperor was actually in such a state, extremely unstable in all aspects. How could he kill the heavenly master in such a state? Chapter 2164. Listening to the old hooligan's words and thinking of the primitive emperor's previous attack, Lin Tian couldn't help but be surprised. The primitive emperor's combat power was too tyrannical. After a pause, he put away his surprise and looked at the old hooligan, asking, Why are you guys here all of a sudden? During this period of time, he had seen a lot of super experts. Wu Yi's mother, the first heavenly lady, the 72-winged golden-robed old man of the Heavenly Guardian clan, and the terrifying middle-aged man who could instantly kill the ancient ancestor of the Celestial Court. Now his nerves were a little shaken by these super experts. After a brief moment of surprise, he quickly regained his composure. I felt the Bodhi aura, so I came here to take a look, the old hooligan said, looking at the Bodhi tree in front of him. Hey, this thing is very rare. In the entire world, there are probably no more than 3. I never thought that there would be one here. As he said, he cut off a branch from the Bodhi tree in front of him and said to the primitive emperor, Use it to refine medicine. It can help us recover faster from our injuries. Lin Tian was moved when he heard this. Sure enough, the old hooligan was injured. Kid, keep it in your perfect world and use it as the foundation of that world. The effect is not bad. The old hooligan said to him. Lin Tian originally planned to do so, but at this time, when he heard the old hooligan say so, he couldn't help but have some doubts. You guys don't need to borrow the Bodhi tree to cultivate. He listened to the old hooligan's words. This old guy seemed to have come here just to get a branch to refine medicine. The old hooligan shook his head. No need, it's useless to us. This made Lin Tian couldn't help but be surprised. This Bodhi tree was of great use to people like the ancient ancestor of the Celestial Court, but the old hooligan said that the Bodhi tree was useless to them. It seemed that their true strength was at least stronger than the ancient ancestor of the celestial court. Very strong. These two words appeared in his mind. It could be imagined that the old hooligan and the primitive emperor were both very powerful people with unfathomable strength. After a pause, he thought of something and asked, "Right, do you know anything about the first heavenly maiden?" He was very concerned about the matter regarding Wu Yi's mother. He felt that the old hoodlum and Yuan emperor's identities were not simple and that they might know something. He wanted to know more about Wu Yi's mother's past. He wanted to know why she was hunted down by the Heaven Protectors despite being the strongest existence in the Heaven Protectors. As soon as he said that, the old hoodlum and the primitive emperor couldn't help but be moved. "You actually know about the first heavenly maiden?" The old hooligan was a little surprised. "I found out by chance. I heard that his strength is a little exaggerated." "Is that so?" Lin Tiandao didn't mention that he had seen the other party with his own eyes. Instead, he asked about the godly key from another angle. The old gangster looked at Lin Tian suspiciously. Then, he seemed to recall something and couldn't help but tremble. "It's not exaggeratedly strong, it's abnormally strong." He said, "There used to be 9 universes in the world. You should know that, right? 9 universes. Back then, one supreme master after another fell in the hands of the godly key. It was very difficult for anyone to survive for more than 10 breaths of time. Old man, I've seen her fight with a universe supreme master. She killed him in 8 breaths of time." "What? 8 breaths of time? And she killed a universe supreme master?" The white tiger opened its eyes wide and couldn't help but tremble. It didn't know about the first heavenly maiden. Since Lin Tian mentioned her, it had been listening quietly at the side. Now that it heard the old hoodlum's words, it couldn't help but feel a chill down its spine. Even Lin Tian couldn't help but narrow his eyes. There were a total of 9 universes in the world, and each universe was vast and boundless with countless living creatures. Therefore, one didn't even need to think to know how terrifying a universe supreme master was. However, back then, the godly key actually killed a universe supreme master in 8 breaths of time. What kind of amazing thought was that? Even though he already knew that the godly key was very powerful, when he heard this, he couldn't help but feel a little shocked. That kind of combat power was really terrifying. Beside him, little Taichu, who also knew that the godly key was very powerful, was also shocked. The white tiger trembled and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Is it really that terrifying?" "Nonsense." The old hoodlum had a look of lingering fear. "Back then, if it weren't for the fact that I ran away quickly, I reckon I would have died." He rolled his eyes. "Speaking of which, I don't even know what the other party looked like. She was always covered by holy light. Even with my power back then, I couldn't see through her. According to rumors, she was unparalleled in beauty, and ordinary people didn't deserve to see her." As he spoke, he was rather disdainful. "What unparalleled in beauty? Ordinary people didn't deserve to see her? Am I an ordinary person?" He looked at Lin Tian and said, "Besides, how beautiful can she be? How can she be compared to that little wife of yours, Wu Yi? She even deliberately used a special holy light to cover her face so that no one can see her. TSK. In my opinion, she's obviously not beautiful. She's so ugly that words can't describe her. She doesn't dare to show her true face to others." Lin Tian. Looking at the old hoodlum, he opened his mouth. He really wanted to say that the woman was Wu Yi's mother. She looked exactly the same as Wu Yi. She was truly unparalleled in beauty. However, in the end, he didn't say that and swallowed his words. Not to mention that he didn't want to expose the fact that the divine key was Wu Yi's mother. Just from the old hoodlum's point of view, if he said that the divine key and Wu Yi were exactly the same, how embarrassing would it be for the old hoodlum who just said that? It would be like directly slapping him in the face. It would make the old hoodlum feel that he was so stupid and adorable just now. If he really said it, the old hoodlum's face would probably turn green. "Yeah." Little Taichu whispered and glanced at the old hoodlum with his big eyes. The old hoodlum looked at Lin Tian and little Taichu. "What's with your expressions? Why do you look like you're saying that I'm stupid?" No, you're thinking too much. Lin Tian hurriedly denied it. This old hoodlum's intuition was really strong. Yeah, you're thinking too much. Little Taichu echoed. The old hoodlum looked at Lin Tian and little Taichu suspiciously. In the end, he didn't continue to pay attention to them. After a pause, he continued, back then, the other party had participated in the great apocalypse of the universe several times. His fierce reputation spread far and wide. However, he continued, it's quite ironic. During the last great apocalypse of the universe, it was said that he fell in love with a human, an ordinary mortal, and some kind of change occurred. Because of this, he became the enemy of his own race. In the end, it was said that he was killed by that race with all their strength. What? Hearing this, Lin Tian was immediately moved. The divine key, the number one master of the Heaven Guardian race, fell in love with an ordinary mortal? So, Wu Yi's father was an ordinary mortal? Next to him, little Taichu's eyes widened. He was also shocked by these words. An ordinary mortal? Are you kidding me, old man? The white tiger spoke from the side with a look of disbelief. How can such a terrifying existence be captured by an ordinary mortal? Chapter 2165. Please forgive me. Chapter 2166. Hearing the old hooligan's words, not only was White Tiger in disbelief, even Lin Tian had a face of bewilderment. Previously, when he saw Shinqi and learned that she was Wu Yi's mother, he had thought that the man Shinqi fell in love with back then must be an incomparably great existence. However, he did not expect the old gangster to say that the man was actually immortal. Yeah, little Taichu also stared. Can't be fake, said the old gangster. This is what I overheard from a conversation between some old bastards. Lin Tian nodded. How is that possible? A man who killed a universe supreme master in 8 breaths of time fell in love with a mortal? That's ridiculous. White Tiger still didn't believe it. The old gangster pursed his lips. Love is something that can only be understood by the person involved. Lin Tian paused and asked, then, what about that man? Well, I'm not sure, but since the first goddess was killed, that man should be about the same. Besides, it's been too long since that incident. Even if that man wasn't killed like the first goddess, he should have turned into dust. After all, the lifespan of an ordinary person is only about 100 years. The old gangster said. Lin Tian fell silent when he heard this. Godly Qi was killed by the Heaven Guardian clan, and only a wisp of her soul was left. That wisp of soul had a serious defect and was difficult to repair. As for that man, as an ordinary person, he might have died long ago. Those were Wu Yi's parents. Now that he knew about this and how the two of them ended up, he felt very uncomfortable. What's wrong, kid? Why are you so sad? The old gangster saw his strange expression and couldn't help but ask. Nothing. Lin Tian shook his head. He took a deep breath and quickly calmed down. Then he started again. The dragon burial scripture operated and quickly dug out the Bodhi tree. Every leaf and branch of the Bodhi tree was intertwined with special patterns, and he directly put it into perfect world. After that, find a safe place and use it to cultivate, said the old gangster. The old hoodlum said, we still have other things to do. Be careful. In this apocalypse, the mysterious yellow universe will definitely be destroyed. You must ensure your survival. You're leaving? White Tiger pulled the old gangster over. Bring the 3 of us with you. Now, the mysterious yellow universe was in the midst of a great calamity, and the primitive emperor and the old thug's strength were absolutely tyrannical. Under such circumstances, it felt that following the old thug and the primitive emperor would be much safer. The old gangster saw through what it was thinking at a glance and said, trust me, old man. Following us will be countless times more dangerous than the 3 of you moving together. It's more dangerous for you to follow us. Yuan Emperor also spoke. The White Tiger couldn't help but glare. Then forget it. The 3 of us can move freely. The old gangster was a little indecent, and sometimes his words couldn't be trusted. However, the primitive emperor looked like a decent person. Since the primitive emperor said that it would be very dangerous to follow them, it naturally wouldn't doubt it. Lin Tian didn't say anything, But he was a little surprised when he heard the old thug and primitive emperor's words. What are these two going to do? He felt that it was extremely unusual. Okay, let's go. I'll say the same thing again. Pay attention to your safety. Don't die with this universe. The old gangster said to Lin Tiandao. Little friend, take care. The primitive emperor also spoke and said a few words to Lin Tiandao. Then he left with the old gangster and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In this place, the smell of blood in the air was very strong. After the old gangster and the primitive emperor left, the place quieted down. Lin Tian watched the old gangster and the primitive emperor leave. At this time, he was a little startled and thought about Wu Yi's parents again. Kid, what's wrong? Why are you acting weird? The white tiger looked at him and couldn't help but ask. Lin Tian came back to his senses and shook his head. The man that Shinqi fell in love with back then might have disappeared with the passage of time, but Shinqi was sure that she hadn't really fallen. Her consciousness still existed, and there was still a chance for her to be reborn. He believed that she could definitely walk on the path of return. Let's go. He took a deep breath and called out to the little Taichu and the white tiger to leave this place. Not long after, he found a barren, abandoned world and found a valley in this world. The valley was very vast and intertwined with faint smoke. He brought the little Taichu and the white tiger to this place. With his current sacred, venerable level cultivation base, he continuously engraved 99 ceiling formations outside the valley to isolate the aura of the outside world. Then, he took out the Bodhi tree from the perfect world. With the appearance of the Bodhi tree, this originally barren valley was instantly shrouded in a layer of holy light, turning this place into a sacred place. A sacred object, a sacred object. The white tiger's eyes lit up as he stared at the Bodhi tree. This thing was a super treasure for existences like the ancestor of the celestial court. Moreover, this wasn't a one-time consumable. It could be used continuously. Cultivate. Lin Tian opened his mouth and only said these two words. The Xianwang universe was in the midst of the great apocalypse. In order to survive this great apocalypse, he had to constantly become stronger. On the other hand, after the Xianwang universe, the next great apocalypse should be the Hongming universe's turn. The Hongming universe was the universe where he was born. His family and friends were born in that universe. It must not be destroyed. For this reason, he had to become stronger. In the future, he had to have unparalleled combat strength to stop the celestial court and protect his important family and friends. Cultivate. The white tiger nodded and immediately sat down cross-legged under the Bodhi tree. He closed his eyes and cultivated. The little Taichu shook his beautiful wings and landed on a branch of the Bodhi tree. He also closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Lin Tian didn't hesitate. He came under the Bodhi tree, sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to circulate the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Buzz! As the Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated, a faint nine-colored holy light intertwined on the surface of his body. Then, it gradually became stronger. The Bodhi tree could help people comprehend the Tao and understand the principles of heaven and earth. In short, cultivating under the Bodhi tree could increase one's comprehension by countless times. Some things and principles that were difficult to comprehend on ordinary days would be much easier with the help of the Bodhi tree. At this time, sitting cross-legged under the Bodhi tree, he felt that his divine instinct had become tyrannical in an instant. His mind was constantly enlightened. The feeling was much stronger than when he used the endless life essence to help him comprehend the Tao. It was much, much stronger. In just a moment, sitting cross-legged under the Bodhi tree and comprehending the Tao, he had a clear understanding of the various flaws of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra in his mind. Then, in the blink of an eye, a method to improve it was born. Immediately, without hesitation, he began to improve the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, correcting all the flaws in the Tao. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. Buzz! A month later, on this day, the nine-colored holy light outside his body became gentle and countless times purer. With the appearance of this incomparably pure nine-colored holy light, the space in this place shook slightly. The white tiger and the little Taichu couldn't help but be awakened from their cultivation. Holy light, 9 colors? Boyu? The white tiger's eyes widened. Previously, it hadn't seen Lin Tian emit 9-colored holy light. Now that it saw it, its eyes were filled with shock. It was the first time it had seen 9-colored holy light. Chapter 2167. Lin Tian opened his eyes as pure 9-colored holy light surrounded his body. There was a flash of light in his eyes. Great! He couldn't help but say this. In the past month, he had been comprehending under the Bodhi tree, constantly improving the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Now he had finally perfected it. There were no more flaws in this ancient sutra. This progress was very shocking. After all, in the history of cultivation, after an ordinary expert created their own ancient sutra, it would take at least 100 years to perfect it. However, after he created the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, he did it in just a month with the help of the Bodhi tree. Now, the Reincarnation Heart Sutra was operating on its own. The 9-colored holy light was much purer than it was a month ago. Even an ordinary person could feel it. Naturally, now that he was operating the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, his essence, chi, and spirit were fully displayed. The power mixed in the saint power became even stronger. Boy, what the hell are you doing? The white tiger's eyes were wide open. The most colorful power it knew was only 7-colored. However, now, Lin Tian was emitting 9-colored holy light. This was really shocking. It remembered that Lin Tian's saint power used to be golden. It's my own ancient sutra, the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Lin Tian didn't hide it. As soon as he said this, the white tiger was shocked again. You succeeded in creating a sutra? When they were still in the Hongming universe, Lin Tian began to create sutras. At that time, it was beside Lin Tian. Now, after hearing Lin Tian's words, it instantly guessed that Lin Tian had succeeded in creating his own ancient sutra. Yes, Lin Tian nodded. After receiving this confirmation, the white tiger was even more shocked. You actually succeeded in creating a sutra. Moreover, your ancient sutra, the color of the saint power, it was shocked by Lin Tian's success in creating a sutra. Then, it was shocked by Lin Tian's extraordinary ancient sutra. After Lin Tian's ancient sutra was activated, it could intertwine 9-colored holy light. This was definitely the first time in the history of cultivation. It's nothing. Continue to cultivate. Lin Tian said simply. In a month, he had perfected the Heart Sutra of Reincarnation. Now, he was ready to create his own divine art. Previously, when the Heart Sutra of Reincarnation had just been completed, he had fought with the experts of the Celestial Court and had come up with some ideas of creating techniques. Now that the Heart Sutra of Reincarnation had been completed, he was ready to use this Bodhi tree to create his own killing saint technique. Although he had created the Tai Chi Divine domain himself, it was a defensive saint art. It wasn't very good at attacking. Moreover, the Tai Chi Divine domain was created before the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. It didn't work perfectly with the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. He still had to improve the Tai Chi Divine domain so that it could work perfectly with the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. At that moment, he sat cross-legged beside the Bodhi tree and closed his eyes again. Using his previous battle experience and the Bodhi tree, he slowly evolved his killing technique. Buzz! He didn't do anything. Outside his body, strands of 9-colored holy light jumped, giving off a sacred and vast feeling. The white tiger stared at Lin Tian. It was still shocked by Lin Tian's Heart Sutra of Reincarnation. After dozens of breaths, it gradually calmed down. Together with the little Taichu, it once again entered its own cultivation and comprehension. Every leaf and branch of the Bodhi tree was intertwined with strange patterns, giving off strands of holy light. Lin Tian sat cross-legged under the Bodhi tree. Because of the Bodhi tree, his comprehension had increased by tens of thousands of times. Whoosh! In this valley, wind blew past, swirling up sand and dust. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. 1 month later, under the Bodhi tree, Lin Tian was surrounded by 9-colored holy light. His essence, chi, and spirit were more condensed than before. His aura was even more vast. A vulture flew over the barren valley. Its eyes were sharp, and its body was more than 10 feet long. It was very rare. Suddenly, the vulture's body trembled violently. It fell from the sky and landed in the valley. Its body twitched a few times, and then it stopped moving. At that moment, under the Bodhi tree, Lin Tian opened his eyes. There was a faint 9-colored light flashing in his eyes. "I did it," he muttered to himself. In the past month, with the help of the Bodhi tree, he had created a special technique. With the special vibration of his saint power and divine consciousness, together with the Heart Sutra of reincarnation, he could launch an invisible attack without making any movements. Moreover, this technique did not attack the physical body. It focused on the soul and spirit. The soul and divine spirit were very important existences to any living being, just as important as the life essence. Once the soul and divine spirit were shattered, the living being would die immediately. No amount of natural treasures or elixirs would be able to save them. Just now, when the vulture suddenly fell, it was he who used this technique. He directly shattered the soul in the vulture's body. This kind of attack could not be seen or touched. Only super geniuses with heaven-defying divine senses, and those who were far more powerful than him, could sense it. Moreover, this kind of attack was very sharp and very special. Even if the super monstrous geniuses in the same realm were able to sense this kind of attack because of their heaven-defying divine senses, it would be very difficult for them to block it. Normal methods wouldn't be able to defend against it at all. Only those who were much stronger than them would be able to use pure brute force to shatter it after sensing it. Reincarnation God slaying technique. He muttered to himself and gave the newly created divine technique such a name. This was his own technique. It was completely compatible with the Heart Sutra of reincarnation. When he used it, it was as smooth as waving his arm. At that moment, the white tiger and little Taichu opened their eyes one after another and woke up. "Hey, good. The white tiger was a little excited. It was obvious that in the past 2 months, he had made great progress with the help of the Bodhi tree. "Yeah," little Taichu said in a childish voice. His eyes were very bright, showing that he had also made great progress. "It seems that both of you have made great progress." Lin Tian looked at them and said. The white tiger said, "Of course. If you didn't make great progress after cultivating under the Bodhi tree for 2 months, it would be too useless." "Yeah." Little Taichu waved his little paws, seemingly agreeing with the white tiger's words. Lin Tian could not help but smile and stand up. In these 2 months, there was no change in their cultivation. However, their strength had increased tremendously. He waved his hand and put the Bodhi tree back in a perfect world. He called out to the little Taichu and white tiger and walked out of the valley. "Let's go find the people from the celestial court and test our achievements in the past 2 months." He said, the Bodhi tree could help people comprehend the path and improve a cultivator's comprehension. However, they could not always cultivate under the Bodhi tree. Chapter 2168. After leaving the valley, Lin Tian led the white tiger and little Taichu to a vast great world. This great world was as big as the celestial realm. After entering this great world, he led the little Taichu and white tiger to the center of this great world. Looking around, he saw a huge palace in front of him. It seemed to have been built not long ago, and there were many heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals guarding it. Arriving at this place, Lin Tian didn't hesitate or hide anything. He led the little Taichu and white tiger to the palace. Human. As soon as he arrived, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals around the palace turned cold and pointed their spears at him. At the same time, a dozen figures walked out of the palace. There were 3 void heaven realm experts and 9 rulers. The young man in the middle was even more special. He had 12 blue wings on his back and looked very obvious. His essence, chi, and spirit were extremely strong. "You're here to steal the pristine jade bottles?" The 12-winged youth was handsome like a fairy. He wore a purple robe and was at the dominator rank. Then, when he saw Lin Tian's appearance clearly, a dazzling light shot out of his eyes. Reincarnation body. What? He's a reincarnation physique? As soon as the 12-winged young man spoke, the expressions of the celestial court experts around the palace changed. Lin Tian naturally recognized this person as a member of the Heavenly Guardian clan. Hearing the other party's words, a faint light flashed in his eyes. It seems like you have a high status in your clan. He looked at the young man and said, ever since he created the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, his life essence and the Reincarnation Heart Sutra had been very compatible. As a result, his life essence was naturally attached with a layer of special energy, like a protective membrane. Ordinary people couldn't easily tell that he was a reincarnation physique. Previously, he had completely perfected the Reincarnation Heart Sutra with the help of the Bodhi tree, causing the protective power of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra to become even stronger. It was impossible for anyone below the transcending heaven realm to see through his constitution. But now, this 12-winged youth, who was only at the sovereign realm, had directly identified his constitution. He was 100% sure that with the other party's dominator rank cultivation, it was impossible for him to see through his reincarnation constitution. He must have learned about him from the Heaven Protector clan's older generation experts, which was why he could say that he was a reincarnation constitution. Since this person was able to learn about his reincarnated body from the older generation members of that faction, he could guess that this person's status in that clan was definitely not low. The 12-winged youth snorted coldly. I didn't expect that the thief who has been stealing the jade bottle that our clan uses to collect life essence would be a reincarnated body. This is very surprising. As he spoke, he looked at Lin Tian. Of course, it is also a pleasant surprise. Suppressing you will be a great achievement. The elders of the clan will be very happy. As he spoke, he stepped forward. His body was surrounded by boundless light as he walked towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian saw this person walking towards him, but he didn't care. At the same time, he also learned something else from the other party's words. A while ago, he had brought little Taichu to dozens of great worlds and stolen all the jade bottles that the Celestial Court used to collect life essence. This matter had attracted the attention of the Celestial Court, which caused the Celestial Court to take action. There were experts waiting in ambush for him in several great worlds. This 12-winged youth was waiting here because of this. Yeah. Little Taichu opened his eyes wide. Naturally, he had also thought of this matter. Is this the same person as that 12-winged divine emissary? That Heaven Protector clan? The white tiger looked at the 12-winged youth with a slightly serious gaze. He had already learned about the Heaven Protector clan from Lin Tian. At this moment, looking at the 12-winged youth, he could feel how terrifying and intimidating his aura was. The 12-winged youth walked towards Lin Tian step by step. His eyes were indifferent, as if Lin Tian was just an ant. Sir, how about letting us suppress him? We don't want to dirty Sir's hands. Avoid heaven rank expert said as he followed the group. Stand down, the 12-winged youth said. Facing a void heaven rank expert, he put on a very arrogant attitude. His gaze was fixed on Lin Tian. Although he is a lowly human, he is still a reincarnated body. Suppressing him won't dirty my hands. Io, this little bastard is really asking for a beating. The white tiger couldn't help but grit his teeth in displeasure when he heard this. At this time, the 12-winged youth's words sounded like he approved of Lin Tian on the surface, but in fact, they were not. His tone was full of arrogance, and he was using Lin Tian's physique to set off his own nobility. The 12-winged youth naturally heard the white tiger's words and directly slapped him. You filthy thing! Following his attack, a large area of the surrounding space was immediately shattered, and the ground trembled involuntarily. It was also at this time that Lin Tian made his move. He also slapped the youth. Bang! In the blink of an eye, his big hand collided with the 12-winged youth's big hand, and the other party's hand was directly knocked away. You and the little guy stand back, he said to the white tiger, looked at the 12-winged youth, and took a step forward. The 12-winged youth's big hand that was pressing towards the white tiger was knocked away by Lin Tian, and his gaze fell on Lin Tian again. Not bad, as expected of the strongest physique in the legends. A mere holy venerable's body is actually so sturdy. It's not much weaker than mine. This person said indifferently, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. He was currently in the top 100 of the Heaven Protector clan's younger generation, and he was at the Dominator rank. Moreover, his body had been tempered with countless treasures, and his pure physical strength was at the top of the Dominator rank. But now, Lin Tian actually raised his hand and blocked his slap towards the white tiger. As he said this, his footsteps did not change, and he still stepped towards Lin Tian. Lin Tianyi did not move, and quietly waited for the other party to come closer. Then, a faint light flashed in his eyes. You seem to have quite a few jade bottles on you that contain life essence. Now, his divine instinct was very powerful, and at this time, he sensed a very shocking life essence fluctuation in the other party's body. This fluctuation clearly did not belong to the other party. He guessed that it was because the other party had many jade bottles on him that contained life essence. Moreover, there was quite a lot of life essence in those jade bottles. Your nose is quite sensitive. You can even smell this. The light around the 12-winged youth's body became even brighter, and he did not hide anything. His words were filled with mockery and humiliation towards Lin Tian, and he called Lin Tian a dog. He continued to walk towards Lin Tian. However, smelling it is meaningless. You're not a... As he walked towards Lin Tian, the 12-winged youth, with an indifferent expression, suddenly let out a miserable shriek. With a bang, he was sent flying, smashing dozens of ancient trees in the distance. As though he was suffering from epilepsy, he rolled on the ground, twitching uncontrollably. Chapter 2169. My lord! The celestial soldiers and celestial generals near the palace all turned pale. The 12-winged young man suddenly screamed and was sent flying. At the same time, the white tiger and little Taichu were also shocked. What did that brat do just now? The white tiger's eyes widened. He and little Taichu had already retreated far away. When they saw the 12-winged young man screaming and being sent flying, they naturally knew that it had something to do with Lin Tian. However, they clearly didn't see anything just now. This shocked them. Boom! Majestic saint energy surged. In the distance, the 12-winged young man stood up with difficulty. His face was much paler. What did you do? He stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. His eyes were bloodshot. Just now, when he was looking at Lin Tian and speaking, a sudden surge of energy surged into his body and crashed into his soul. He was in so much pain that he almost fainted on the spot. Lin Tian's expression was calm. Just now, he had used the reincarnation god slaying technique. A formless and colorless killing energy rushed into his opponent's body and ruthlessly hit his soul and his consciousness. He looked at his opponent and didn't say anything. He immediately moved. He took a step forward and was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of his opponent. With his cultivation of a 7th-level Saint Venerable, he punched out with the Chaos Emperor fist. Boom! There was a loud sound. The void shook violently, and cracks appeared. It was as if a sacred drum of destruction had been beaten. The force of the punch shocked all the celestial soldiers and celestial generals. He's only a Saint Venerable, yet he can throw out such a punch. This? A ruler's eyes narrowed. Even the white tiger and little Taichu, who knew Lin Tian very well, felt their hearts palpitate when they saw that punch. Well, what a monster! The white tiger's eyes widened. He felt that Lin Tian could probably be called a king in the ruler realm just based on his shell alone. There was coldness in the 12-winged young man's eyes. Lin Tian's punch had moved him slightly, but this only lasted for an instant. In the next moment, he swung his fist and met Lin Tian's punch head-on. Their fists collided in the blink of an eye, erupting with a destructive aura. Your physical body is not bad. Unfortunately, the toughness of the body alone is of no use. The man said coldly as his saint power surged. The 12 wings on his back flapped, and a blue destructive storm began to brew. Lin Tian looked at his opponent. After a simple exchange of blows, he could sense that his opponent was extraordinary. He was incredibly strong, many times stronger than all of the sovereigns he had fought in the past combined. However, he didn't mind at all. His fist collided with his opponent's, and he sneered indifferently. He used the reincarnation god slaying technique again. The invisible and colorless killing power approached silently, piercing into his opponent's body and bombarding his spirit. Ah! The 12-winged young man immediately trembled and screamed. The destructive storm that was brewing behind him instantly dissipated. He was sent flying hundreds of meters away like a scarecrow, smashing dozens of ancient trees. Well, what's going on? What did that brat do? The white tiger's eyes widened. Lin Tian clearly didn't do anything, but the 12-winged young man was sent flying as if he was suffering some kind of cruel torture. This scene was a little strange to the white tiger. That invisible killing power seems to be a combination of divine sense and saint power. It doesn't attack the physical body, but the spirit. Inside the palace, a void heaven rank master spoke. He had seen Lin Tian use the reincarnation god slaying technique twice in a row, and his pupils couldn't help but constrict. Where did he learn this technique? Who created it? A killing power that combined divine sense and saint power, and only attacked the spirit. He had never seen or even heard of such a technique before. Ah! In the distance, the 12-winged young man roared and struggled to stand up. His eyes were bloodshot again. Ant! Earthworm! He looked at Lin Tian with shock and anger, and killing intent surged. He was one of the top 100 of the Heaven Protector clan's younger generation in this generation. He was a ruler, but now he had actually been injured by a wholly exalted human twice in a row. This infuriated him and made him feel extremely humiliated. Kill! He roared, and monstrous saint power surged as he charged toward Lin Tian. With a loud bang, the space in the area trembled and shattered. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. At this moment, he felt the pressure from his opponent's aura. It was very strong. However, although he felt the pressure, his expression didn't change at all. He charged forward. Clang! He circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, and 9-colored saint light swirled out. He combined it with the High Heaven Sword scripture and slashed out a sky full of sword lights. The sky full of sword lights was filled with 9 colors, and each sword light seemed to be able to cut through everything. This is... Near the palace, the celestial soldiers and celestial generals were all shocked. Even the void sky existences were no exception. This was the first time they had seen 9-colored saint power, and they felt that it seemed to encompass everything. The 12-winged youth's eyes narrowed as he was shocked by Lin Tian's 9-colored saint energy. However, in the next moment, his gaze turned cold again. The majestic saint energy of a sovereign rank surged as he continuously cast out the Abhijna of the Heaven Protector clan. Rumble! In this place, the sky shook violently as if it would collapse in the next moment. Lin Tian faced the 12-winged young man with a special bloodline as a holy venerable. Although the pressure was great, he wasn't afraid at all. He raised his Tai Chi divine domain to protect himself as he continuously slashed out with the High Heaven Sword scripture. The two collided head-on, and in this place, the space kept shattering and the ground kept collapsing. He blocked that lord. How is this possible? Is this the power of the legendary strongest physique? With a holy venerable cultivation, he can... The celestial soldiers and celestial generals were shocked. The 12-winged young man had the special bloodline of the Heaven Protector tribe, and it wasn't any weaker than the chaotic physique. He was at the sovereign realm, but now he couldn't gain the upper hand against Lin Tian, who had the reincarnation physique. Boom! 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 The shocking collision caused the destructive aura to expand. Subdue Ant! The 12-winged young man roared. His 12 wings flapped fiercely, and a huge saint phantom appeared, reaching the heavens and penetrating the earth. It had 12 arms, and each arm was holding a divine weapon made of light, bombarding towards Lin Tian in a grandiose manner. Without a doubt, this was a terrifying killing technique. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. He was fearless as he activated the 4-symbol seal and divining divine technique together to meet the attack. At the same time, he activated the reincarnation god slaying technique again, and a formless killing force pressed against the opponent. The 12-winged young man's eyes shot out 2 beams of piercing cold light. His body surged with a large amount of holy light, and he raised a holy energy barrier. a formless killing force that specifically attacks the soul. After using it twice in a row, do you think I still can't sense it? Do you still think you can? Ah! The 12-winged young man was sent flying again, and the huge Saint Shadow collapsed. After that, Lin Tian used the four symbols divine technique and divining divine technique to suppress and drown him. Poof! Chapter 2170. Blood splattered everywhere as the 12-winged youth exploded. He was crushed by the four-symbol seal and the divining divine technique. My lord! The heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals outside the palace paled again. It had only been a short while, but that clan sovereign had already suffered 3 consecutive losses at the hands of Lin Tian, who was a holy venerable. My lord clearly activated a defensive light screen just now, but it actually couldn't block it at all. A Void Sky expert was shocked and puzzled. Gurgle! The sound of flesh wriggling rang out. The 12-winged youth's divine soul was immortal, and his body reformed in the blink of an eye. You damned thing! He glared at Lin Tian, shocked and enraged to the extreme. He was one of the top 100 experts of the Heaven Protector clan's younger generation, a sovereign realm expert. But now he was actually injured by Lin Tian, a saint venerable human, again and again. He roared angrily, and his 12 wings flapped. Saint Light surged like an ocean, and his killing intent was even more terrifying than before. He charged madly at Lin Tian, using all kinds of divine abilities and great techniques one after another. The void was greatly damaged, and the speed of reconstruction couldn't keep up with the speed of destruction. The power he exuded was several times stronger than before. Facing this person, Lin Tian felt even more pressure than before, but he wasn't afraid at all. Clang! He activated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, and the Tai Chi Divine Domain protected his body. He activated the High Heaven Sword Scripture, and a 9-colored sharp sword light filled the sky. At the same time, he activated the Reincarnation God Slaying technique again, and an invisible killing force attacked his opponent's divine soul. Ah! The 12-winged youth screamed again, and he was sent flying again. Lin Tian stepped forward, and as he waved the High Heaven Sword Scripture, he activated the Reincarnation God Slaying technique again and again. He came here mainly to test this new technique, and now he was using this technique as his main attack. Ah! The 12-winged youth shrieked miserably as he was sent flying again and again. Even though he could sense the formless killing power that Lin Tian had unleashed, he was unable to block it. The defensive light screen that he had erected was completely useless, as if it was just a decoration. My lord, that bastard's killing power is very special. It is very difficult to block it with ordinary methods. We can only use pure strength to shatter it. Let us deal with this. A Void Heaven rank expert walked forward. Scram! The 12-winged youth shouted coldly. He had been injured by the Reincarnation God Slaying technique several times in a row. His eyes were already bloodshot as he glared at Lin Tian. He's just a holy venerate ant. I'll definitely suppress him. He unleashed an even more powerful saint power, and as his 12 wings flapped, the mountains and rivers roared, turning into a destructive storm that pressed down on Lin Tian. Kneel! He roared at Lin Tian. He was a member of the Heaven Protector clan and was also one of the top 100 of the clan's younger generation. He was at the level of a ruler. Now that he was facing a saint venerable human, how could he ask for help? If he asked for help, it would be the same as him lowering his head and admitting defeat to Lin Tian. He was a Dominator rank expert of the Heaven Protector tribe. How could he admit defeat to a holy venerable rank human? Rumble! The destructive storm rampaged. For a moment, the sky cracked and the earth was destroyed. The scene was terrifying. This little bastard, this aura, in the distance, the white tiger could not help but tremble. This aura was many times stronger than an ordinary dominator's. Lin Tian was standing on the battlefield. Naturally, he could sense how powerful this destructive storm was, and the pressure increased. However, his expression remained unchanged. He activated the Reincarnation God Slaying technique, and his battle strength instantly increased by 20 times. Rumble! Outside his body, the nine-colored saint light immediately became extremely bright, turning into a nine-colored tornado that met his opponent's attack. The destructive storm and the nine-colored tornado collided in the blink of an eye, and there was a loud rumble. Then, the destructive storm began to tremble. The saint power it contained gradually weakened in the process of colliding with the nine-colored tornado. It could no longer unleash its full power, and it began to dissipate bit by bit. Impossible! The 12-winged youth's expression changed drastically. This was one of his core killing techniques, and now it had been broken by a holy venerable. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. With his battle strength increased by 20 times, he activated the reincarnation God-slaying technique again. The invisible killing power instantly broke into his opponent's body and directly hit his opponent's soul. Ah! The 12-winged youth screamed. His face turned pale as he was sent flying. His consciousness was blurred at this moment. At this moment, Lin Tian stepped forward and instantly appeared in front of his opponent. Nine-colored saint power surged, and the four-symbol seal was activated. Together, they enveloped his opponent. Then his right hand flashed with nine-colored saint light and directly pierced into his opponent's body. He grabbed a ball of light. Within the ball of light was a transparent jar. One could see that there were more than 300 jade bottles inside. One could feel the surging life essence even through the jar. Very good. His eyes flashed. With more than 300 jade bottles, the life essence in them was frighteningly dense. He could imagine that with the help of the life essence in these jade bottles, he, the little Taichu, and the white tiger would be able to improve their cultivation by a large margin. This was a great harvest. The 12-winged youth's consciousness returned. Seeing Lin Tian in front of him and the 300 jade bottles that Lin Tian had taken out from his body, he was even more furious. The veins in his eyes became even more bloodshot. Again, he roared and reached out to grab Lin Tian. Every single one of these 300 or so jade bottles contained the life essence of all the living beings in a complete large world. They were extremely valuable, and he was going to send them back to his clan. How could he let Lin Tian take them away? Lin Tian smiled. He activated the reincarnation God-slaying technique again. The invisible killing power once again hit his opponent's soul. Ah! The 12-winged youth immediately shrieked in agony. Under the 20-fold superimposed reincarnation God-slaying technique, it was unbearable. His soul and body were in excruciating pain, and cracks appeared. Immediately afterwards, Lin Tian didn't show any mercy and continued to attack. He continuously activated the reincarnation God-slaying technique, and the invisible and terrifying killing power continuously bombarded his opponent's soul and body. Under the combination of the reincarnation God-slaying technique, the killing power was superimposed 20 times. He didn't give his opponent a chance to catch his breath at all. Moreover, after that, the high heaven sword scripture, divinatory divine art, and reincarnation diagram of the king's territory were all supported by him. Their power was also stacked up by 20 times, and they pressed down together in a mighty manner, causing the sky to change color. No! After a few breaths, an extremely shrill shriek filled the air. Accompanied by blood that filled the sky, the 12-winged youth's physical body and soul were crushed together, and his body and soul were destroyed. All of a sudden, the place became much quieter. Such a powerful ruler with the bloodline of the Heaven Guardians was killed just like that? In the distance, the white tiger's eyes widened. Although Lin Tian had killed rulers before, those rulers couldn't be compared to the 12-winged youth at all. However, Lin Tian still killed him. At the same time, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were horrified. The 12-winged elite of the Heaven Guardians was killed in front of them. Damn it, beast! Chapter 2171. Near the palace, several void sky existences were extremely furious. The 12-winged youth had been killed by Lin Tian just like that, and in front of their very eyes. This was a huge problem, because the other party wasn't an ordinary member of the Heaven Protector tribe, but one of the top 100 of the Heaven Protector tribe's younger generation. If such a person was killed in front of them, they definitely couldn't escape responsibility. They would have to face a terrible punishment later because they were the other party's guards. Damn it! With a rumble, the three Void Sky existences moved together. Void Sky's sane energy completely sealed off the surroundings. Such a terrifying aura caused the sky to distort and the ground to crumble inch by inch. As Lin Tian retreated, clanging sounds rang out incessantly. More than a dozen divine weapons of mastery appeared at once, and he activated them with his weapon manipulation art. Divine weapons of mastery rolled out like a raging sea, directly cutting open the frozen space. "Let's go," he called out to the white tiger and the little Tai Chu. The dozen piercing heaven-grade divine weapons slashed out destructive killing lights to block the three Void Sky existences. Then he retreated with the little Tai Chu and the white tiger. With his current cultivation base, he could temporarily block the attack of a void heaven-grade existence by using these heaven-piercing gray divine weapons, but it was obviously impossible for him to kill such an existence. As such, retreating was the best choice at this time. The killing lights released by the dozen piercing heaven-grade divine weapons were terrifying, causing the three Void Sky existences' expressions to change. Some ordinary piercing heaven-grade divine weapons didn't even have piercing heaven-grade divine weapons, but now the holy venerable Lin Tian had so many of them. At the same time, the three didn't dare to be careless. They attacked with all their strength and used their divine abilities and saint techniques. Boom! In this place, space shook violently. Destructive ripples spread out in all directions, and light mist rolled out. Then, the light mist quickly dissipated, and the place regained its clarity. In front of them, Lin Tian's group had completely disappeared, along with a dozen piercing heaven-grade divine weapons. "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Find them! We must find them!" Several Void Sky existences roared in anger. In this great world, there were many ancient trees and plants in a huge mountain range. The spirit chi in the air was very dense. At this time, a void portal appeared in the mountain range. Lin Tian stepped out with little Tai Chu and white tiger. Previously, he had used a dozen or so piercing heaven-grade divine weapons to temporarily obstruct three void heaven-grade existences. After that, he had directly summoned the space transmission platform. This was a life-saving measure he had prepared for the great calamity. He had used the space transmission platform to arrive here. Leave this world. Lin Tiandao shattered the world barrier at this place and brought the white tiger and little Tai Chu out of this world. Not long after, he found a barren, abandoned world. He entered and found a desolate great canyon. Within the canyon, the soil was very moist, and there was a faint mist lingering around it. He engraved many ceiling formations here, and then took out the 300-plus jade vases he seized. For a moment, this place was surrounded by an astonishing amount of life essence. What a treasure! White Tiger's eyes lit up. Are these the jade vases you mentioned before? The ones the Celestial Court uses to collect the life essence of all living beings? Yes. Lin Tian nodded. Then he divided the 300-plus jade vases equally. He, little Tai Chu, and White Tiger each had more than 100 vases. "Cultivate," he said. At this time, there was actually no need for him to say anything. White Tiger roared and immediately found a place in this canyon. It circulated its ancient scripture and began to refine the life essence in these jade vases. Little Tai Chu and Lin Tian said in their childish voices. They also walked to the side and began to refine the life essence in the jade vases. Suddenly, a demonic light appeared outside the little guy and White Tiger's bodies. Their essence, chi, and spirit began to rise at an extremely fast speed. Lin Tian paused for a moment. He did not hesitate and sat down cross-legged on the spot. He circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and placed over 100 jade bottles around him. He absorbed the life essence within them into his body and began to refine and absorb it. As he began to absorb the life essence, he discovered that the life essence in these pristine jade bottles was much denser than the life essence in the pristine jade bottles he had obtained before. It was truly like an ocean of life essence. They all contain the life essence of all living beings in a complete macro world. He muttered to himself. This guess had actually been born in his mind before, but now he was even more certain of it. He took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated even faster, refining the essence of life even faster. The nine-colored light around him gradually became even more resplendent. His essence, chi, spirit, and cultivation were all increasing rapidly. This canyon was originally a little dim, but because of the nine-colored holy light outside his body, the dim canyon was completely illuminated. Every corner became bright. Just like this, time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, a full 3 months had passed. 3 months later, on this day, in this world, there was a thunderous explosion. Above the canyon, the sky gradually became dark. Thunder rolled, and a destructive aura came down from the sky. Such an aura caused the white tiger and little Taichu, who were still refining the life essence, to tremble involuntarily. They stopped cultivating and looked up at the sky. The white tiger widened its eyes and quickly turned its head to look at Lin Tian. The sovereign realm. It widened its eyes. At this time, it clearly felt the aura of the sovereign realm intertwining around Lin Tian's body. It was very frightening. Yeah, the little Taichu also widened its eyes. It was also at this time that Lin Tian, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. In his eyes, 2 beams of 9-colored holy light flashed and disappeared. Then, in the next moment, the rolling thunder in the sky dissipated, and the destructive aura disappeared in an instant. Sovereign, he muttered to himself. In 3 months, there were more than 100 jade vases left to be refined. At this time, he had reached the sovereign realm. After reaching the sovereign realm, heavenly punishment immediately descended. Then, just like before, he temporarily withdrew from the sovereign realm, causing the sovereign realm heavenly punishment to disappear in the blink of an eye. He looked at the white tiger and little Taichu. After 3 months of cultivating with the life essence in the jade vases, the little Taichu's cultivation had reached the 8th heavenly layer, while the white tiger's cultivation had reached the 5th heavenly layer. Both of them still had more than 20 jade vases to refine. At this time, they were both staring at him without blinking. He gave the remaining 3 jade vases to the white tiger because the white tiger's cultivation was slightly weaker than his and the little Taichu's. You two continue. I'll undergo the tribulation after you're done refining. Chapter 2172. All right, it won't take long. I'll finish refining it in a few days at most. The white tiger nodded at Lin Tian's words. It continued to refine the remaining life essence with the little Taichu. Lin Tian waited to the side. Another month passed in the blink of an eye. Little Taichu and the white tiger had finished refining all the life essence in the jade bottles. Their auras had become much stronger. The little Taichu had reached the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Venerate, while the white tiger had reached the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Venerate. Good. After stopping cultivating, the white tiger excitedly exclaimed, Good! In 4 months, it had gone from the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Venerate to the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Venerate. The entire cultivation process had been so simple and smooth. Yeah, the little Taichu called out in its childish voice. It flapped its wings and flew into the air. The 6-colored saint light around its body had become even purer. Its essence, energy, and spirit were extremely powerful. It was like a dormant volcano. Lin Tian felt that if the little fellow attacked with its full strength, ordinary sovereigns would not be able to last for long. The white tiger's bloodline was not as strong as the little fellow's, but its battle prowess was still impressive. Ordinary people under the sovereigns were no match for it. All right, you two back off a little. I'm going to undergo the tribulation, he said. The little fellow and the white tiger had finished refining all the life essence in the jade bottles. He was ready to undergo the sovereign's heavenly punishment and truly enter the sovereign's realm. This place was an abandoned, barren world. It was just right for him to undergo the tribulation here. The little Taichu and the white tiger nodded and immediately retreated far away. Lin Tian did not hesitate. He released all his essence, energy, and spirit and stepped into the sovereign's realm again. Suddenly, the sky shook with a boom. A pitch-black lightning vortex appeared immediately. Blood-red lightning bolts flashed within, and a destructive aura descended. This aura is really, in the distance the white tiger trembled. Facing the lightning punishment in the sky, it felt that even an ordinary peak ruler would be struck to death in an instant. Yeah, the little Taichu shrunk its neck. Naturally, it also felt the terror of this lightning punishment. It was as if it could shatter everything. It was also at this time that there was a boom. The sky in front of them trembled, and the first round of lightning punishment came crashing down. This was a lightning beam as thick as a water bucket. It was intertwined with blood-red electric arcs, and its speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of Lin Tian. Lin Tian faced the first round of lightning punishment. He circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and swung his primal chaos Emperor Fist. Crack! With a crisp sound, the first round of the main lightning punishment was immediately shattered. Now, he had created the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, which was perfectly compatible with his origin. Moreover, he had refined it to perfection. Even if he did not use the Reincarnation Forging Spirit Art or the 5 Heaven-Shaking Lightning Art, he could easily shatter the first round of lightning punishment. Again, he looked calmly at the sky. At the same time, with a thought, he took out the immortal Emperor Pagoda to experience the lightning punishment with him. In the sky, the pitch-black lightning vortex trembled. The blood-red lightning became even more violent, and the destructive aura became stronger. Then, the second round of lightning punishment came crashing down. Lin Tian was fearless. He met it head-on and shattered it. Then, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh rounds of lightning punishment came crashing down one after another. As Lin Tian transcended his tribulation, he used the lightning punishment to refine the immortal Emperor Pagoda. Gradually, he activated the Reincarnation Tempering Spirit Technique. The 5 Heaven-Shaking Lightning Manual, Lightning Immortal Tao, and Nature Immortal Tao were all used to help transcend the tribulations. Boom! Thunder roared, deafening even to the deaf. Then, in the blink of an eye, several hours passed. Lin Tian destroyed the last round of lightning punishment. The lightning vortex in the sky slowly dissipated. The dusky sky became bright again, and rainbow, auspicious clouds gathered. The rainbow, auspicious clouds trembled, and the rainbow, holy light fell, enveloping Lin Tian. Lin Tian naturally knew that this holy light was extraordinary. He immediately circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, absorbing this rainbow light to consolidate his current level. Buzz! Outside his body, the rainbow holy light and the 9-colored holy light circled together. His essence, chi, and spirit were raised again. Soon, dozens of breaths passed. The rainbow, auspicious clouds trembled and dissipated. The rainbow holy light also disappeared. Outside Lin Tian's body, the 9-colored holy light circled, and his essence, chi, and spirit became extremely condensed. Ruler. His eyes were intertwined with light. At this time, his physique was stronger. The surface of his body was naturally intertwined with pure light. Moreover, the holy power in his body was more vigorous, flowing like a rolling river. Very good. When he truly stepped into the ruler level, he felt different from when he was at the saint level. The feeling was like when he first stepped into the immortal ascension realm from the airborne realm. There was a great transformation, and he felt that the whole world was much brighter. With 2 whooshing sounds, the white tiger and the little Taichu flashed over at this time. A ruler-level reincarnated body. I'm afraid this is incredible. Lord Tiger feels that your aura is not much weaker than a void sky expert. The white tiger looked at Lin Tiandao. At this time, Lin Tian did not hide his aura. It felt like Lin Tian was an ancient demon god, and it made its heart beat wildly. Yeah, very scary. The little Taichu stared. Naturally, it also noticed that Lin Tian was extraordinary at this time. His aura was very terrifying. Lin Tian's eyes were faintly shining. He paused, waved his hand, and called back the immortal Emperor Pagoda not far away. After being tempered by heavenly punishment several times, the immortal Emperor Pagoda now had more lightning runes on it. It naturally emitted a kind of lightning pressure, as if it was a combination of lightning and thunder. Just looking at it gave people a feeling that it could crush everything. Lin Tian held the immortal Emperor Pagoda in his right hand. Feeling the power and extraordinariness of the immortal Emperor Pagoda, he was naturally very satisfied. This pagoda was his origin divine weapon. He paused, then put the immortal Emperor Pagoda back into his body. Let's go. Let's leave this place. Lin Tiandao. The white tiger nodded. What do we do next? As it spoke, its eyes shone. It rubbed its paws and said, continue to snatch those pristine jade bottles. Let Lord Tiger and the little guy quickly step into the ruler level and undergo a great transformation. Lin Tian nodded. He was actually thinking of the same thing. As for these pristine jade bottles, he would snatch as many as he could. When the time came, he would survive this great apocalypse and return to the primordial universe with a batch of pristine jade bottles containing endless life essence for GU and the others to use. Immediately, he called out to the white tiger and the little Taichu. He raised his hand and tore open the realm barrier, preparing to leave this world. It was also at this time that a ka sound rang out. A large crack appeared in the sky, and a few figures stepped out. That unusual heavenly tribulation fluctuation just now came from this world. Let's see what's going on. Why is the aura of the heavenly tribulation so strong? Chapter 2173. There were 9 people who stepped into this world, and all of them were wearing the battle uniform of the Celestial Court. They were all in the Dominator realm, and naturally, they exuded a very powerful aura of essence, as if they were 9 walking weapons of destruction. Check it out and leave quickly. Do what we have to do. There are still many macro worlds to be destroyed. There's no need to rush. Those macro worlds can be destroyed slowly. There's still a lot of time left for us. In comparison, the fluctuation of the thunder punishment that spread out from this world just now is too special. You guys should have noticed it too. It's too unusual and very strange. It's best to check it out. Maybe you'll find something good. When the 9 dominators passed by this macro world, they suddenly felt the aura of the thunder punishment coming from this world, and it was extremely shocking. It was not the power of an ordinary immortal realm heavenly tribulation, so they immediately stepped into this world. Speaking of strange, the man who suddenly appeared a month ago is the strangest. He's obviously a human, but he has the pure origin aura of the Celestial Protector clan, and it's said that it's very shocking. It's simply incomprehensible. One of them said, "Shut up, don't say anything more. That person has been listed as a taboo by that clan half a month ago. Don't talk about him lightly." Another person said in a low voice. The expression of the person who spoke before changed slightly, and then he nodded. All right, let's check the aura of the thunder punishment. Let's not talk about that person anymore. Let's just do what we have to do. Another person said. Lin Tian was on the surface of this world, so he naturally noticed these 9 people. At the same time, he also heard their words. He, who was about to leave this world, suddenly stopped. He's a human, but he has the pure origin of the Celestial Protector clan. He frowned slightly. Beside him, little Taichu and White Tiger naturally heard the 9 people's words, and they could not help but be curious about it. Kill them and search while we're at it? White Tiger said. It was indeed very concerned about the Celestial Protector clan. After all, that clan was very terrifying. Lin Tian nodded. He naturally had the same idea. At that moment, he took a simple step forward with the White Tiger and little Taichu and appeared in front of the 9 people in an instant. The 9 rulers of the Celestial Court were all shocked. They weren't ordinary rulers. They had walked very far in the ruler realm and were very strong. But now, they couldn't sense where Lin Tian and the others had come from. Who are you? One of them shouted. Lin Tian didn't say anything. Looking at the 9 people, he activated the reincarnation god's slaying technique. A formless killing force surged out. Ah! Miserable shrieks rang out. 8 of them trembled violently and then stopped moving. They tumbled down from the sky. His body was still intact, but there was no light of life in his eyes. The white tiger's eyes widened. You used the newly created technique you mentioned before? 8 rulers were killed in an instant. Lin Tian had already told him and little Taichu about the reincarnation god slaying technique. Seeing this scene, the white tiger naturally knew that Lin Tian had used the reincarnation god slaying technique. It couldn't help but be shocked by this scene. After all, those were 8 rulers, and they weren't ordinary rulers. Now Lin Tianyi had wiped them out with a thought. However, it quickly calmed down. After thinking about it, this scene was actually normal. After all, the reincarnation god slaying technique was very terrifying. Moreover, Lin Tian had already stepped into the ruler realm. It wasn't difficult for him to use this technique with the cultivation of a ruler to instantly kill a ruler. At the same time, the remaining ruler of the celestial court turned pale. He couldn't help but take a few steps back. The 8 people who had the same combat strength as him were killed in an instant. Although he didn't see anyone do anything, he instantly determined that Lin Tian had killed the 8 people based on the white tiger's words and actions. His voice trembled. Then, in the next moment, he immediately fled. He tore open the world gate and stepped into it. He didn't even see his movements clearly, but the 8 rulers who had the same combat strength as him were killed by Lin Tian. How terrifying was this person? He knew very well that he couldn't stop him. At this time, the only way to survive was to escape. Lin Tian looked at the sovereign of the celestial court. With a surge of his saint power, he shattered the world portal that the sovereign had opened. Then, the seal of the 4 symbols flew out and restrained the sovereign, making it difficult for him to even move a finger. The ruler was terrified. What are you doing? I'm from the celestial court. You don't mess around. Bang! Lin Tian raised his hand and punched the ruler's abdomen, cutting him off. He had killed the other 8 sovereigns and left this person alive because he wanted to search the other party's consciousness for information on the man who was a human but also possessed the pure essence of a heaven protector. At this time, he used the 4-symbol seal to restrain the ruler. He directly used his origin of divine thought and sank it into the ruler's consciousness. Then, dozens of breaths passed in a flash. The ruler's expression suddenly changed. Is it a coincidence? His eyelids twitched. From this person's sea of consciousness, he found out about the man that the other party had mentioned before. That person had suddenly appeared a month ago. He was a human, but he naturally exuded the unique origin aura of the Heaven Protector clan. Moreover, he seemed to have a deep hatred for the Heaven Protector clan. He had chased after the Heaven Protector clan all over the universe, killing many powerhouses of the Heaven Protector clan and provoking a 72-winged peak existence of the clan. However, in the end, that elite 72-winged elite was almost killed and had to flee in a sorry state. Moreover, that person had the body of the void. Could it be? His heart couldn't help but twitch. Beside him, the white tiger and little Taichu naturally saw his abnormality. The white tiger asked, "Kid, what did you find? What's wrong with you?" "Yeah?" The little Taichu was also curious. Lin Tian moved his lips and briefly told them about the man he had found in the ruler's consciousness. There really is such a thing. He's a human, but has the origin of the Celestial Protector clan. Moreover, he has the body of the void. Moreover, he's so terrifying that the 72-winged elite of the Celestial Protector clan was almost killed. The white tiger's eyes widened in shock. It already knew about the Celestial Protector clan and the division of strength of that clan. At this time, when it heard that the 72-winged elite of that clan was almost killed, it felt a little fearful. Beside it, the little Taichu's eyes widened. Chapter 2174. Lin Tian was stunned. After searching for information about that man, he couldn't help but think of Wu Yi and the Divine Key. He's the mortal that the Divine Key fell in love with back then. He was originally from the human race, yet he possessed the incomparably pure source energy of the Heaven Protector race. Moreover, he had the void body. Now that he was searching for the Heaven Protector race in this cosmos, and had already killed many of their people, how could he not be suspicious? One had to know that it was absolutely impossible for an ordinary human to possess the source energy of the Heaven Protector clan. It could only be that the Heaven Protector clan had forcefully moved a portion of their source energy over. But which member of the Heaven Protector clan would do something like this? At this moment, he suddenly had a conjecture. Back then, when the Divine Key was being hunted down, in order to protect the person she loved, she gave a portion of her source energy to that person while she was pregnant. Then, she sent that person away from her side. That person survived back then, and because of the Divine Key, he embarked on the path of cultivation. Perhaps he had been pursuing the Heaven Protector clan since that time, looking for the Divine Key. Unfortunately, the Heaven Protector clan rarely appeared in the world, and the location of their clan was not known to ordinary people. That person had been unable to find it until now. When the Xianhuang universe was destroyed, the Heaven Protector clan descended in large numbers and dominated the destruction. That person had found out and now entered this universe. Using this theory as proof, it was enough to explain why the other party, a human, had the origin aura of the Heaven Protector clan, and why he was killing people from the Heaven Protector clan. It was because the Divine Key was being hunted down by the Heaven Protector clan. Moreover, that person had the void physique. Half of Wu Yi's physique was the void physique. This was too compatible. Yi's father? The little Taichu's eyes widened, and he had the same idea as Lin Tianyi. As soon as he said this, the white tiger at the side couldn't help but be stunned. Huh? Princess Wu Yi's father? How could that person be related to Princess Wu Yi? Although the other party has the void physique, and half of Princess Wu Yi's physique is the void physique, there are some similarities. But isn't it too far-fetched to make such a guess based on this point? It doesn't make sense. Yeah. No, there are other reasons. Little Taichu said. What is the reason? The white tiger was puzzled. Little Taichu tilted his head and looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian paused for a moment and didn't hide it anymore. The little guy and I have met Wu Yi's mother. He briefly told the white tiger about how he had seen the Divine Key. What? The white tiger shivered, and its eyes almost popped out of its head. Princess Wu Yi's mother is the former first heavenly maiden, the most powerful master of the Heavenly Guardian clan. Its face was full of shock, and then it finally understood why Lin Tian had asked the old hooligan about the number one heavenly girl. It turned out that there was actually such a secret. This is simply, it was stunned for a moment. Lin Tian's eyes flashed as he activated the reincarnation god-slaying technique and cut down the last ruler of the celestial court. He then looked outside the great world. Go find him, or go find the Divine Key, he said. He felt that his guess should be true, but it was just a guess after all. He had to verify it. This was related to Wu Yi, so he couldn't ignore it. Moreover, he was looking for the Divine Key. The other party was now just a wisp of spiritual consciousness, which was very unstable and didn't seem to have the desire to live. Although he knew that the other party was extremely powerful, he was still worried about the other party. He had already confirmed that the other party was Wu Yi's mother. How could he let her disappear? Let's go. The white tiger nodded immediately. The little Taichu, and Lin Tianyi were naturally very concerned about Wu Yi. Then he paused and frowned. Do you have any clues? Where should we go to find him? The bounded universe was too big. To find one or two people in such a universe was undoubtedly similar to finding a needle in a haystack. It was too difficult to find them without any clues. I have some clues. From the sea of consciousness of the previous ruler, I found the coordinates of the great world where the man appeared a few days ago. Go to that great world and the nearby worlds to search. Lin Tiandao said. In the process, we can also start with the Celestial Protector clan. The younger generation of that clan has been training in the Great Calamity. They should know a lot of information. Immediately, he called the little Taichu and the white tiger to leave this world. After an unknown amount of time, He took the white tiger and the little Taichu to the great world where the man appeared a few days ago. This was a great world much bigger than the celestial realm, but not as big as the celestial realm of nothingness. He suppressed a peak-level ruler of the celestial court in the center of this great world and searched for many things. After that, he found that the man was no longer in this world. He took the pristine jade bottle used to collect life essence from the center of this great world, then took the little Taichu and the white tiger and left this great world, stepping into the nearby great worlds. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this month, he walked through dozens of great worlds. On this day, he encountered a young expert of the Celestial Protector clan in a great world nearby. The young expert had 12 black wings and was protected by 9 void sky experts. He was much stronger than the 12-winged youth he killed before. In other words, the 12-winged young man from before could not be compared to this 12-winged young man at all. The essence, chi, and spirit of this 12-winged young man were too strong. It was more than a level higher than the 12-winged young man from before. The difference was like heaven and earth. Reincarnation body. The 12-winged youth immediately recognized Lin Tian. 2 dazzling rays of light shot out from his eyes, and his essence, chi, and spirit surged. Just like the 12-winged young man with purple wings, this 12-winged young man with black wings had already learned about Lin Tian from the upper echelons of the clan. He knew what Lin Tian looked like, so when he saw Lin Tian, he immediately recognized him. Reincarnation body? He's a reincarnation body. Behind this person, the 9 void heaven rank experts were visibly moved. They couldn't see through Lin Tian's constitution. If the 12-winged youth hadn't said so, they would have thought that Lin Tian was just an ordinary human sovereign. A reincarnation body was extremely important. Don't make a move, I'll suppress him myself. The 12-winged youth said coldly and directly stepped towards Lin Tian. As this person moved, the sky began to distort as a sovereign's aura spread out. It was so strong that it was somewhat frightening. This pressure, is he really only at the sovereign level? The white tiger couldn't help but feel its heart palpitate. Just feeling the pressure from this person from afar made it feel like it was suffocating. None of the sovereign experts it had encountered before had made it feel like this. Even the little Taichu's eyes widened. It was shocked by the pressure this 12-winged youth was emitting. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. He could feel how powerful this person was, and he could probably kill an ordinary peak sovereign with a raise of his hand. However, he didn't care at all and faced this person head-on. This person was stronger than the 12-winged youth from before. He was definitely one of the top 100 of this clan's younger generation, and his ranking should be very close. Lin Tian wanted to suppress this person and search his sea of consciousness for traces of that man and the divine key. Clang. Chapter 2175. The 9-colored sword light was extremely sharp. Wherever it passed, the void was sliced and distorted. The 9 void sky rank experts were shocked. Firstly, the sword light that Lin Tian slashed out was too powerful. It didn't seem like something a sovereign realm cultivator could produce. Secondly, Lin Tian's Saint Force was actually 9-colored. It was her first time seeing 9-colored Saint Force. The 12-winged young man's eyes narrowed. Then his voice became colder, as expected of the legendary physique. It's indeed different. As he spoke, he attacked. Similarly dense sword lights intertwined and met the attack head-on. For a moment, the 2 sword lights collided, creating waves of destructive aura. Lin Tian's expression remained the same, and his gaze remained the same. With a thought, the reincarnation god's slaying technique was unleashed. An invisible and colorless killing force instantly rushed out, directly breaking into the opponent's body and ruthlessly striking the opponent's soul. The soul body was extremely important to a cultivator. The 12-winged young man immediately screamed and staggered back. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian stepped forward and activated the 4-symbol seal, directly suppressing the opponent. He was an ultimate reincarnation body. Although this 12-winged young man was extraordinary, it was easy for him to suppress the opponent in the same realm as him. My lord, Damn it, let go. The 9 Void Sky rank experts' expressions changed at the same time. They were all shocked and furious. Then, they immediately rushed towards Lin Tian. They were the 12-winged young man's temporary guards. If anything happened to him, they would not be able to escape punishment. Lin Tian glanced at the 9 Void Sky rank experts rushing towards him. He activated the reincarnation god slaying technique and directly attacked them. At the same time, he activated the weapon controlling technique and summoned the 9 piercing heaven divine weapons. The piercing heaven divine weapons immediately spread out, freezing the surrounding space. The weapons majestically slashed towards the 9 Void Sky rank experts. The 9 Void Sky rank experts were directly hit by the reincarnation god slaying technique. Each of them trembled violently, and their faces turned pale. After that, the 9 divine weapons of the 9 sects bore down on them, causing the 9 cultivators to reveal expressions of shock. All of them unleashed their greatest abilities to receive the attack. However, there was no suspense in the outcome. Lin Tian was currently in the Sovereign Realm, and he had the reincarnation forging spirit art that could increase his battle prowess by 20 times. Under such circumstances, he could support the 9 transcending heaven-grade divine weapons. Void Sky-grade cultivators simply couldn't block him. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered everywhere, and after several dozen breaths of time, the 9 Void Heaven-grade masters were completely annihilated. The 12-winged youth was suppressed. When he saw the 9 Void Sky experts being killed by Lin Tian, his expression changed. Reincarnation body, release me. I am the 9th person of the Heaven Protector clan's younger generation. I am different from those lowly people. If you injure me, the consequences will be... Bang! Lin Tian didn't say anything more to this person and directly punched him in the stomach, interrupting him. Then, he released a strand of his divine sense of the origin, which went directly into the other party's sea of consciousness to search for what he wanted to know. Soon, several dozen breaths of time passed. His expression slightly froze, and he directly withdrew his divine sense. The 12-winged youth glared at Lin Tian. How dare you forcibly search my sea of consciousness? Pooh! Lin Tian attacked and shattered the other party with a punch. A spirit transformation talisman condensed in his hand and shattered the other party's divine sense. How is it? What did you find? White Tiger asked. Little Taichu also looked at him. Lin Tian said in a deep voice, several of the 72 winged existences of that clan went to an extremely large world at the same time. Hearing him say this, the White Tiger and Little Taichu's expressions changed slightly. White Tiger frowned. Is it related to the first heavenly maiden or that man? It should be, Lin Tian said in a deep voice. A few days ago, the Divine Key's spiritual sense suddenly appeared and repelled the 72-winged, golden-robed old man of the Heaven Protector clan, which must have attracted the clan's attention. Not long ago, that man suddenly appeared and killed the experts of the Heaven Protector clan one after another, and even almost killed a 72-winged existence. Naturally, this was a huge matter. These 2 people could be said to be the 2 people that the Heaven Protector clan cared about the most. Dealing with them wasn't something that a 72-winged existence could deal with. At this time, several 72-winged existences of this clan went to the same large world together. He was 90% sure that if they weren't going for the Divine Key, they were going for that man. No matter which one it was, they were all things that he was very concerned about. Let's go. He called out to the White Tiger and Little Taichu. He had already found the coordinates of that large world from the consciousness of the 12-winged youth, and he was ready to go. Their current altitude was too far away from the 72-winged existences of the Heaven Protector clan. It could be said that it was very dangerous to go directly to a world with several 72-winged experts. However, even so, he still had to go because this was related to Wu Yi's mother and father. After going to that world, you 2 find a place to hide first. I'll look for clues alone, he said so to Little Taichu and White Tiger. What are you talking about, kid? You're saying this again. We'll go wherever you go and face disaster together, White Tiger said with a frown. Yeah, Let's go together. Little Taichu also said solemnly. Lin Tian moved his lips, wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He simply nodded and continued on his way with White Tiger and Little Taichu. I can feel that those eyes should be able to open soon, he muttered to himself. He relied on two things the most. One was the divine sword in his sea of consciousness. The other was the pair of eyes that he had opened twice, which could mobilize fate for his own use. The more powerful his cultivation was, the more terrifying the fate he could mobilize. Not long ago, after he stepped into the sovereign realm, his eyes would occasionally produce a faint burning sensation, and he could vaguely feel the flow of fate. This feeling was exactly the same as when he accidentally opened those eyes twice. "Friend, this time move with me," he whispered in his heart, summoning the divine sword in his consciousness. After that, he might face an unimaginable situation. He needed to be able to summon all his trump cards at any time. With that in mind, he didn't slow down. He tore through the great world barrier several times in a row, bringing White Tiger and Little Taichu along. Soon, they stepped into a large world. Looking around, this world was filled with immortal mountains and divine peaks. The interweaving immortal spiritual chi was so dense that it was somewhat frightening. It was a world on the same level as the void celestial realm. White Tiger said, "It's this world." Boom! Suddenly, terrifying saint energy vibrated. In the southeast region of this great world, not far from this place, monstrous saint light shot into the sky. This saint energy was too powerful. It seemed to be able to annihilate everything. The entire great world was trembling violently. That's Chapter 2176. Lin Tian was shocked when he sensed the Divine Key's aura. Sure enough, the Divine Key was in this world. He immediately called out to the Little Taichu and the White Tiger, and they headed toward the place where the saint energy was surging. The place where the saint energy was surging was not far from where they were now. Soon, they arrived at the place where the saint energy was intertwined. As far as the eye could see, there was a broken mountain range in front of him. It seemed like a special space had been shattered. The center of the mountain range was completely out of place with the surrounding environment. There were blood-red vines and many strange human cocoons. Boom! The saint energy vibrated, and the space shattered piece by piece. There were 9 figures in front of them, all with 72 wings on their backs. The Divine Key, who only had a wisp of spiritual consciousness left, was fighting the other 8 people alone. The White Tiger looked at the Divine Key, and its eyes widened. Although it had heard about the Divine Key from Lin Tian and knew that the Divine Key was Wu Yi's mother on the first day and looked exactly like Wu Yi, it still could not help but be shocked when it saw it with its own eyes. Lin Tian didn't care about this. He looked ahead and saw the dense mass of human cocoons. He instantly understood why the Divine Key would appear here. It should be here to purify these human cocoons. This was because the Divine Key was doing this when he and the Little Taichu saw it the last time. Boom! Saint energy surged. In front of them, the 8 ancient existences of the Heaven Protectors surrounded the Divine Key. Each of them was full of energy. "You really came here. You want to purify them and free them? Divine Key, you've really changed completely," one of the 72 winged existences said coldly. He was dressed in a purple robe and was the 18th elder of the Heaven Protectors. The Divine Key did not speak. Its 72 snow-white wings trembled, and holy light surrounded it. It was sacred and vast, like a true goddess. This holy light was very powerful and seemed to be able to purify everything. It killed the 8 72 winged existences again and again. So powerful. In the distance, the White Tiger trembled slightly. It was only a wisp of spiritual consciousness, and it was very unstable, but it could block 8 pinnacle 72 winged existences at the same time. Even though Lin Tian had seen the Divine Key in action before, he was still shocked by this scene. Too strong. However, a worried look soon appeared in his eyes. At this moment, he could see that although the Divine Key had temporarily blocked the 8 72 winged existences, The wisp of spiritual consciousness was gradually fading as the battle continued. If this battle continued for a long time, the wisp of spiritual consciousness of the divine key would dissipate and truly die. Divine key, I'll say it one more time, belong to my clan. We can use the supreme treasure of our clan to allow you to truly be reborn. Among the 872 winged beings, a black-robed old man said in a deep voice, "Of course, before that, you have to carve a master-servant slave seal." The divine key was too powerful. He was the strongest person in the history of the celestial protectors. Now, just a strand of unstable spiritual sense could stop the 8 of them. If the divine key was willing to return to the clan, that would be great. However, even if the divine key agreed, in order to control the future divine key, they had to carve a slave seal on him to restrain him. Otherwise, if the divine key that had truly recovered to its peak acted recklessly, it would be a huge problem for them. The divine key said, "Elder, please stop. If this continues, it will only make the clan bear an eternal sin. If you are willing to stop, the divine key is willing to return to the clan and is willing to do anything." The 872 winged existence's faces immediately darkened. They could not stop what they were doing now. It involved a long-cherished wish that they could not give up. Moreover, once they gave up, it would bring about a huge disaster. In other words, the divine key would not agree to their request. One of them slightly narrowed his eyes, paused, and said coldly, "Back then, the lowly human that you risked your life to protect is still alive and has appeared. We have his whereabouts, so we can completely wipe him out at any time." As soon as he said this, the divine key, who had been very calm, suddenly trembled and changed color. "He is still alive? He has embarked on the path of cultivation?" She was shocked, happy, and sad. This was something that she had never expected. In the distance, Lin Tian was also shocked. Based on his intuition, he could guess that the human that the black-robed elder was talking about was the body of void that had appeared a few days ago. As expected, he was the ordinary mortal that the divine key loved back then, Wu Yi's father. Beside him, little Taichu and White Tiger were also moved. Also, in front of them, the black-robed elder spoke again, coldly saying, "We already know that you and that lowly human have a child. We have already found traces of him, so we can join forces to wipe him out at any time." As soon as he said this, the divine key really changed color. Her spiritual sense trembled violently and became even fainter in an instant. Back then, before her daughter was born, she sent her away to protect the person she loved. She did not even have the time to teach her how to cultivate. After her daughter was born, she sent her daughter away again because she was being hunted down. In the end, she was killed. After she was killed back then, she did not die completely. An indestructible spiritual sense condensed again 1,000 years later and traveled between heaven and earth. After traveling between heaven and earth with her spiritual sense for all these years, she thought that the person she loved was no longer around. This was because when she sent her away, he was only a mortal. A mortal's lifespan was at most about 100 years. However, when she sent her daughter away, she had more than enough time to impart all the cultivation methods and techniques into her young daughter's body. She believed that her daughter, who had her blood flowing in her veins, would definitely be able to reach the realm of immortality and would not be worn away by the gears of time. All these years, she knew that her daughter was still alive, but she didn't dare to see her. She didn't even dare to look for her. She was afraid that her existence would implicate her grown daughter. Moreover, because her hands were stained with blood, she felt guilty and ashamed to see her daughter. However, all these years, her daughter had always been her spiritual pillar, supporting her to continue living. Now, when she heard the black-robed elder mention that he had found her daughter, her expression truly changed and she panicked. At the same time, in the distance, Lin Tian's expression also changed. Wu Yi's whereabouts were found by the heaven protectors. He was shocked, angry, and worried. He knew that Wu Yi was very strong, but with Wu Yi's current strength, it was impossible for him to resist the combined forces of the heaven protectors. If the Heaven Protectors attacked Shifeng Heaven, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only would Wu Yi suffer, but Shifeng Heaven might even be destroyed. He still had many relatives and friends in that world. On the side, Little Taichu and White Tiger also changed their expressions. Chapter 2177. In the distance, Lin Tian was even more furious when he heard the black-robed elder's words. He actually wanted to enslave Wu Yi's entire family. This is your last chance. The black-robed elder looked at Shen Qi. The other 7 people did not speak. Their eyes were cold. Shen Qi's expression was no longer calm. He looked very ugly. In the end, he shook his head. Impossible. Impossible. Returning to the clan meant that she would have to slaughter thousands of people again. She did not want to do that again. At the same time, she could not allow her husband and daughter to be engraved with slave seals. The black-robed elder's eyes darkened. The other 772 winged beings' eyes also became colder. I've given you a chance. Unfortunately, you're still so stubborn. Then, just disappear completely. The black-robed elder said. An even stronger holy light rushed out from behind him. However, we won't execute you immediately. After we subdue you, we'll lure out that lowly human and send you to hell together. After you and that lowly human's bastard child will also die. The other 772 winged beings also attacked together. All kinds of holy lights surged, and Tao radiance surged. This space kept twisting and breaking apart. Behind Shen Qi, the 72 snow-white light wings shook slightly. A large area of holy light surrounded him and went toward the 8 people. Boom! 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 There was a terrifying collision. The destructive aura intertwined wantonly. After a dozen breaths, Shen Qi was knocked away with a bang. His spiritual sense body instantly became fainter. In the distance, Lin Tian could not help but clench his hands when he saw this scene. Shen Qi was very strong. Even if it was just a wisp of his spiritual sense, his combat power was very terrifying. However, at this time, after hearing the black-robed elder mention his loved one and his own flesh and blood, his mind was in chaos. His combat power was greatly affected. Boom! Terrifying holy light swept out one after another. Shen Qi fought against 8 people alone. He was injured from time to time and was severely injured. His spiritual sense body became fainter and fainter. If this continued, he could be annihilated at any time. He took a step forward and said to Little Taichu and White Tiger, "Both of you back away. Be ready to leave at any time." Clang. An ear-piercing sword chime reverberated in the air as the barrier of the world was slashed apart, interrupting the rest of his words. A blinding ray of sword light came from outside the great world. Up ahead, on the battlefield, the black-robed old man who had approached the divine key was pierced through by the sword, and he exploded with a poof. At the same time, an azure-clothed young man appeared before the divine key that was struck flying. He was handsome and firm, and he held a 1-meter-long sword in his right hand that was inscribed with profound and unfathomable talisman markings, while his left hand caught the divine key that was sent flying. Divine key! The man opened his mouth, choking up a little. In the distance, Lin Tian was about to attack, but when he saw this man, he stopped in his tracks. At the same time, the White Tiger and Little Taichu were also moved. They stared at the man in green in front of them without blinking. The man and the 2 beasts instantly knew that this man in light clothes was the one Shen Yu loved. He was Wu Yi's father. The divine key's spiritual sense was already very weak. When it saw the man in green suddenly appear, its spiritual sense body couldn't help but tremble. "Scholar, you're really alive." Looking at the familiar face of the man in green, the divine key's eyes were filled with surprise and tears. "Alive? Finally, I've found you." The man's eyes were also filled with tears. Over the years, he had been to too many places and had been looking for the divine key. Now he had finally found it. The black-robed old man's body collapsed and was quickly regenerating. When the other 7 people saw the man in green, they were all shocked and angry. They all recognized the man in front of them, especially one of the black-robed old men, whose eyes were filled with shock and anger. Not long ago, he was almost killed by the man in green. At this moment, his face was filled with murderous intent. Damned human earthworm. The man's voice was extremely cold. He flapped his 72 wings and moved directly, bringing with him an endless amount of killing intent as he charged toward the man in green. At the same time, the other 6 people moved together. Their eyes were cold as they used their great magical powers and secret techniques to attack. They had guessed that the divine key would come here. They were prepared to suppress the divine key's spiritual sense body and then use it to deal with the man in green. However, they didn't expect the man to appear here directly. Scram! The man in green had his back to the 7 people. His voice was filled with endless anger as he slashed with the divine sword in his hand. With a clang, the sound of the sword shook the sky. A glaring sword arc appeared and almost cut through time. The 772 winged beings who rushed forward trembled. Their magical powers and secret techniques were immediately shattered. Then, all of them were shattered at the same time. Blood splattered all over the sky. The black-robed old man, who had just regenerated half of his body, was also affected by the sword. The half of his body that had just been regenerated exploded again, and snow-white bone fragments floated in the void. Such a scene immediately caused the expressions of Lin Tian, Little Taichu, and White Tiger to change. They couldn't help but tremble. The power of one sword was so great that it could directly destroy the 772 winged beings of the Heaven Protectors. Moreover, it shattered the black-robed old man who had just regenerated half of his body. What kind of combat strength was this? So strong. The White Tiger's voice trembled. In the middle of the mountain range, Shun Qi's eyes kept flickering. She didn't expect that the man she loved back then, who didn't know how to cultivate at all, who was just an ordinary man when they parted, would be so powerful now when they met again. However, after that, sadness appeared in her eyes again. She looked at the sword in the man's hand. In the past, your hand was holding a brush. Now, it's holding a cold weapon. The man she loved used to be an ordinary scholar. He once stood in front of her to protect a few ordinary snow rabbits that she wanted to kill casually. He talked about how the heavens are virtuous and other things that she disdained. She felt that it was very stupid. At the same time, she couldn't help but find it very interesting. Because in the past, when people faced her, they only felt endless fear. No one dared to stand in front of her and argue with her like that. Then, because she found it interesting, she didn't kill the man. After that, she was gradually attracted to him. The man's originally very ordinary and even worthless things slowly became meaningful to her. When she was with him, she liked to watch him take care of and feed the snow rabbits. She liked to watch him hold a brush even more. She always felt that a brush was what he should hold, and that it was most suitable for him. Now that she saw the brush in the man's hand turn into a sword, she felt very sad. All of this was because of her. I don't want it anymore. I don't want the brush anymore. Monstrous holy light surged out of the man's body and poured into Shun Qi's spiritual consciousness, stabilizing it. It's useless and meaningless. It can't protect you. Chapter 2178. Lin Tian looked at the man in green from afar. Holy light kept gushing out of his body, pouring into the divine key's spiritual consciousness. However, his expression soon changed. The man in green's holy light was very strong, but it didn't stabilize the divine key's spiritual consciousness. It was still very weak. What's going on? He couldn't figure it out. With the divine key's own power, even if there was only a strand of spiritual consciousness left, it should be able to be reborn. However, the man in green couldn't do it. At this time, the man in green's holy light was very strong, but it still didn't have any effect. On the other side, the man in green's expression changed. Even more holy light poured into the divine key's spiritual consciousness, but it was still useless. Scholar, don't waste your energy. All of their gods' order remains in my body, and my spiritual consciousness is also contaminated. Normal methods are useless. The divine key didn't worry about her situation at all. Instead, she was gentle after seeing a man. The man gritted his teeth. Even more holy light gushed out, pouring into the divine key's spiritual consciousness. You still exist. I won't let anything happen to you. Never. You want to save her? The 872 winged beings of the heaven protectors had already reformed. Each of them had a cold expression. One of them said, "Our clan's treasure can let her truly walk the path of return. You want to save her? I'll give you a chance. Submit to our clan and be our slave, and we'll help her. Of course, at the same time, she and your descendants will also submit to our clan and be engraved with our clan's master-servant slave mark." The man was moved. He was happy to hear that the Heaven Protector's treasure could help the divine key walk the path of return. He was even more surprised by the mention of his and the divine key's descendants. He said, "Descendants." He looked at the divine key, his eyes flickering. The divine key nodded. "Not long after I sent you away, I found out that I was pregnant. It was a daughter. Later, I sent her away too. A few days ago, I felt her aura." Her telegnosis trembled slightly. She didn't know whether she was pleasantly surprised or sad. Choking with sobs, she said, "She's grown up. She's living a good life. She's very happy. She has many friends, her own family, and her own children." The man in cyan was surprised and happy, but then he was full of guilt. His heroic saint body trembled slightly. I am sorry. As your husband, I didn't have the ability to protect you back then. I was protected by you and let you suffer. As a father, I didn't fulfill my responsibility to take care of my daughter all these years. I didn't even see her birth. This was an incomparably powerful man. His aura could suppress the 8 desolates. At this moment, tears flowed down his cheeks. "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." Shunqi shook his head and wiped away the man's tears. In the distance, Lin Tian quietly watched the two of them. Ever since Wu Yi was picked up by the previous Misty Mountain Lord when she was young, she had never seen her parents and had never been taken care of by them. However, she was not abandoned by her parents. Her parents loved her deeply. "Enough!" A cold voice rang out. One of the 8 elders of the Heaven Protectors spoke again. "This is your last chance. Think carefully. Submit to our clan so that your family can live, or continue to defy our clan, and your family will be annihilated." The man in cyan tilted his head. His eyes, which were still filled with tears a moment ago, instantly became incomparably cold and murderous. Boom! A world-shaking aura rushed out from his body, and the entire sky suddenly turned dark. Endless fog curled up, and the world became hazy. Inside the fog, there was a 9-story celestial pagoda. Its top reached the sky, and its bottom reached the ground. It bloomed with endless holy light in this world, as if it could suppress everything. "I won't choose either of them," the man said to Shunqi. "Kill them all. I will snatch the supreme treasure that can help you recover completely." Boom! Behind him, the 9-layer immortal pagoda trembled as if it was responding to his will. It moved at the first instant, a vast and boundless hazy light fog that seemed like primal chaos, yet wasn't primal chaos, directly pressed down on the 8 elders of the Heaven Protector clan. This was an unparalleled offensive momentum. Everywhere it passed, all tangible things were annihilated at the first moment. Void physique, King's territory, Great Void Pagoda. In the distance, Lin Tian looked at this scene with a shocked expression. The other party was indeed a void physique. At this time, he directly brought out the King's territory. The kind of aura was too strong. The 8 elders of the Heaven Protectors were also shocked at the first moment. At this time, the Great Void Pagoda couldn't be compared to the sword that the man casually slashed out before. It was simply the difference between heaven and earth. The killing power was too strong. However, the 8 of them didn't have any fear. After all, they were also the top existences in the world. Moreover, at this time, the 8 of them were together. "Seeing that you are all talents, I have given you 3 chances again and again. Unfortunately, none of you cherish them. Now there is nothing to say. Kill. Several people's voices were cold. They moved at the same time, each bringing out tyrannical divine abilities and saint techniques, pressing down on the man in green. In the blink of an eye, this place turned into a sea of killing. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying saint energy surged. Very soon, several breaths passed. The 8 elders with 72 wings were sent flying, all of them injured. 1 against 8. He is absolutely at the top. In the distance, the white tiger's eyes jumped. Back then, he was immortal, only because he didn't know how to cultivate. After embarking on the path of cultivation in the later era, he actually transformed to such an extent. As it said this, it couldn't help but look at the divine key, muttering, No wonder Princess Wu Yi is so strong. With such a father and mother, how can she not be strong? It's impossible not to be strong. Regardless of whether it was the divine key or the man in green, they were both powerful to the point of defying the heavens. They were too terrifying. In a one-on-one battle, in this world, how many people could stop these two? Lin Tian's eyes couldn't help but flicker. Once again, he was shocked by the strength of the man in green. It was really too intimidating. Yeah. Little Taichu's eyes widened. He was also shocked by this scene. Boom! Rolling saint energy fluctuated. In the middle of the mountain range, the divine key's spiritual sense was already extremely unstable, so it didn't attack at this time. The man in green faced the 8 elders with 72 wings alone. The void pagoda suppressed the surroundings and swept away the 8 of them. Bang, bang, bang. 8 consecutive muffled groans sounded. The 8 elders with 72 wings were all sent flying again. The former earthworm can actually reach such heights. The 8 people's voices were cold. Back then, the man in green was still immortal. Now, the 8 of them joined forces, but they were no match for him. The man in green's eyes were cold, full of killing intent. The void pagoda shook, and the treasure light rushed into the sky. Chapter 21:79. The 3-foot-long sword was covered in divine runes, and its aura was extremely grand. It pressed down together with the void pagoda, and its murderous aura was terrifying. In the distance, Lin Tian couldn't help but be shocked. This kind of attack was really too terrifying. At the same time, little Taichu and White Tiger's hearts also palpitated. Boom! The void rumbled, and the entire world trembled violently. The 8 72-winged elders of the Heaven Protector clan cast their great techniques at the same time, facing the man in green's attack. However, the power of the great void pagoda of the king's territory and the killing sword that the man had unleashed were too strong. The 8 of them unleashed their divine powers, and great arts were instantly shattered. Then, they suffered another calamity, and their bodies were shattered in the blink of an eye. Blood swept across the void, and specks of blood were eye-catching. Stay here, the man said to the divine key, and stepped forward. As he stepped forward, the void pagoda moved with him, and its aura became even more terrifying, as if it was really going to suppress everything. The 8 72-winged elders of the Heaven Protector clan didn't look good, and each of them cast an even more powerful divine technique. Boom! There was a shocking collision. The man in green had the upper hand against the 8 of them, and he suppressed the 8 of them. Again and again, he sent the 8 72-winged elders flying and seriously injured them. However, with the 72-winged elders on their backs, the 8 of them were very strong. Although they couldn't defeat the man in green and were injured time and time again, their souls were still immortal and difficult to be defeated. Bang! 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 Once again, the 8 72-winged elders were swept away one after another, and they exploded in the distant void one after another. The man in green's eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. The long sword in his hand slashed down again and again, and his murderous aura shook the world. Lin Tian stood very far away. When he came to this place, he had been using a special method to hide his aura, so he wasn't discovered. Of course, the The main reason why the 72 winged elders, the divine key, and the man in green didn't discover them was that the 10 of them were all focused on other people of the same level. They didn't pay attention to their surroundings at all. It's hard to imagine that such a demon godlike man was once a weak scholar. White Tiger looked at the man in green in front of him and couldn't help but tremble as he sighed. In order to protect their loved ones, even a child can turn into a demon godlike man, let alone an adult. Lin Tiandao. He looked at the man in green in front of him. The man was simply too powerful. Once he displayed his monarch's territory, it was almost as if he was looking down on everyone. He felt that under normal circumstances, if nothing special happened, the man would be able to kill those 8 people. Boom! Suddenly, the world barrier in this place cracked open again, and an old man stepped out from within. The old man wore a purple robe and had 72 wings on his back. He instantly descended. Following the appearance of this person, Lin Tian was immediately moved. This clan actually had another peak existence with 72 wings. The green-robed man's expression did not change at all. The void pagoda shook, and its aura surged to the heavens. The 8 existences with 72 wings who were initially at this place took action, unleashing all kinds of divine abilities and wondrous techniques to meet the attack. "You're done?" One of them asked the purple-robed elder. "All right, it looks like we really need to use it. I didn't expect that the earthworm would also come here." The purple-robed elder glanced at the man in green indifferently, and a blood-colored divine map flew out of his body. The divine map immediately enlarged, and in the blink of an eye, it became about 100 feet in diameter. The murderous aura fluctuated, and dense soul shadows rushed out of it. These soul shadows were all intertwined with extremely heavy murderous aura and were refined into the divine map, turning into resentful spirits. As soon as they appeared, they let out earth-shattering roars and pounced towards the man in green with menacing expressions. Spirit-devouring diagram. You guys have refined it? In the distance, the divine key's expression changed. Back then, she was the strongest person of the Heaven Guardian clan, so she naturally knew about such a thing. Back then, it was still in the process of deduction. Hundreds of millions of souls were smelted into a murderous diagram, coupled with various heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as some special terrains. Once it was completed, its power would be extremely terrifying. "It's a half-finished product, but it's enough to kill you," the purple-robed elder said coldly. As this person spoke, the other 72 winged experts moved together, and the divine map pressed down on the man in green. Before coming here to ambush the divine key, they knew how powerful the divine key was back then. Hence, even though the divine key was only left with a wisp of spiritual consciousness and was unstable, they still did not dare to underestimate it. After all the 72 winged experts in the clan could barely fight the divine key to a draw. Most importantly, they had learned from their mistakes. A 72 winged expert in the clan had gone to deal with the divine key's spiritual consciousness and was defeated. Hence, they notified the purple-robed elder in the clan and asked him to prepare the spirit-devouring diagram in case they needed it. In the battle that followed, the 8 of them fought the divine key's spiritual consciousness together, and unexpectedly, it was the upper hand. They thought that they could suppress the divine key without the spirit-devouring diagram. Unexpectedly, the man in green suddenly attacked and almost forced them into a desperate situation. It was also at this time that the purple-robed elder arrived with the spirit-devouring diagram. The preparations they had made in the beginning were finally useful. "Kill," one of them said coldly. The 9 of them activated the spirit-devouring diagram together, and the surrounding space instantly disintegrated. Hundreds of millions of vengeful spirits, each of them intertwined with an extremely terrifying aura. Not all of them rushed out of the spirit-devouring diagram, but it was terrifying enough. It caused the sky of this world to be dyed with a layer of blood in an instant. It was extremely terrifying. In the distance, Lin Tian could not help but change his expression when he saw this scene. The aura intertwined with the spirit-devouring diagram was too terrifying. It was definitely far beyond an ordinary heaven-reaching divine weapon. The little Taichu and the white tiger's cultivation were lower than his. At this time, they could not help but tremble when they saw the spirit-devouring diagram from afar. In the middle of the mountain range, the man in green was moved. He was obviously shocked by the spirit-devouring diagram. However, there was not a trace of fear in his eyes. The void pagoda shook, and the monarch's territory was in an uproar. It swept through the surrounding space, causing the void to distort inch by inch. Rays of void light blades were produced. It was like the space divine law, shattering and annihilating the vengeful spirits that attacked one after another. How much sane energy do you have? How many can you kill? The purple-robed elder said coldly. Whoa! The spirit-devouring diagram shook, and more vengeful spirits rushed out. Their faces were ferocious, and they were already pure killing puppets. As soon as they rushed out, they charged towards the man in green without any fear of death. Outside their bodies, there were all kinds of strange forces that corroded everything. To a certain extent, they could even devour saint energy and transform it into their own power, causing the great world to tremble violently. The man in green's eyes were cold. With a boom, the space shook again. Divine chains of order intertwined and surrounded the void pagoda, spreading out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, a large number of vengeful spirits were defeated. Even the spirit-devouring diagram itself shook violently. Chapter 2180. The divine chains of order circled around the void pagoda. Each of them was extremely condensed and pure, exuding a terrifying aura of destruction. Looking at the divine chains of order from afar, Lin Tian could not help but tremble. The divine chains of order were too shocking. Beside him, the white tiger's heart also palpitated. The little Taichu also widened his eyes. The divine chains of order of the green-robed man seemed to be able to obliterate everything in the world. Boom! As the divine chains of order appeared, the surrounding space trembled. The vengeful spirits that rushed out of the spirit-devouring diagram were crushed in the blink of an eye. The black-robed old man and the others were also blasted away. Their blood was boiling, and some of them even had blood flowing out of the corners of their mouths. Very good. Very strong. However, the outcome will not change. All of you will be destroyed, the black-robed old man said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, a holy light burst out from his body. The divine chains of order intertwined and moved forward to meet the attack. At the same time, the other 872 wing powerhouses also activated their divine chains of order. Their auras soared into the sky. Moreover, the 9 of them also controlled the spirit-devouring diagram at the same time. Together with the saint diagram, they attacked the green-robed man. Such a scene made Lin Tian, who was in the distance, change his expression again. The 9 of them also controlled the terrifying power of order. That old man once said that he had seen no more than 5 people who controlled the power of order. Was it because he was seriously injured and his memory was incomplete? The old hooligan had once mentioned the terror of order, saying that out of all the people he had seen, only 5 had mastered the power of order. However, from then until now, the number of people he had seen who had mastered the power of order was far more than 5. Now he realized that the old hooligan's memory was in a mess because he was seriously injured. Boom! In front of him, there was a shocking collision. The green-robed man was now fighting 1 against 9. The combination of the divine chains of order and the void pagoda was terrifying. However, it was gradually difficult for him to maintain the upper hand. After all, none of the 972 wing powerhouses were easy to deal with. Most importantly, the spirit-devouring diagram brought by the purple-robed old man was too terrifying. Terrifying, vengeful spirits rushed out from it, causing great trouble for the man. Buzz! Suddenly, boundless holy light surged. The divine key made his move again at this time. A world of interweaving holy light appeared behind him. Ancient trees stood in great numbers, and islands floated in the air. There were also palaces. They were all condensed from the purest holy chi. They seemed to be able to purify all the darkness in the world and destroy all the techniques in the world. Saint Spirit region. You don't even have a physical body and only have an incomplete wisp of spiritual consciousness left. Yet, you can still summon the king's territory. I should say that you're indeed worthy of being the divine key. How good would it be if he didn't betray my clan? What a pity! The eyes of the 972 winged elders were cold as the power of order revolved around them. At the same time, they activated the spirit-devouring diagram to become even more terrifying. In the distance, Lin Tian's expression changed again. Not only did Shin Qi possess the terrifying bloodline of the Heaven Protector clan, but he also possessed the sacred light body of the 12 king bodies. No wonder Princess Wu Yi possesses both the origin of holy light and the origin of void. The white tiger was shocked. Yeah, little Taichu was also shocked, and his eyes widened. Boom! In the middle of the mountain range, rolling sacred aura surged, intertwining with holiness, coldness, and destruction. 11 powerful figures clashed. Divine Key, back off! Don't attack again! The man in green said as he ordered Divine Key to back off. Now, Divine Key was just an unstable wisp of spiritual consciousness. As his power was depleted, this wisp of spiritual consciousness would become more and more fragile and gradually disappear completely. You can't do it alone. Divine Key shook his head. If it were just the 972 winged elders, she believed that with the man's current strength, he could defeat all 9 of them. However, with the addition of the spirit-devouring diagram, it was impossible. She knew very well how terrifying the spirit-devouring diagram was. Back then, when she was still deducing it, it had already moved her when she was at her peak. Now, although the spirit-devouring diagram here was only a half-finished product, it was still terrifying enough. Let's go together. We can't do it together. You know how difficult it is to refine the spirit-devouring diagram, and you also know how terrifying it is. Today, you will only end up being completely crushed. The purple-robed elder said coldly. Kill! The black-robed elder opened his mouth and only said this one word. The murderous aura fluctuated, and the holy aura of order pressed down like the heavens. The other 772 winged elders were also attacking with all their might, and they controlled the spirit-devouring diagram together. Terrifying, murderous, resentful spirits constantly rushed out from it. Each of them had a ferocious face and were surrounded by terrifying auras. It was very frightening. The man in green and Divine Key were both super experts, and they fought together with the man in green. The 2 kings' territories cooperated with each other, and the Holy Light and the Great Void Force merged to fight against the 972 winged elders. They fought against the spirit-devouring diagram that the 9 of them controlled together. Boom! 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 An astonishing battle. In the blink of an eye, 3 days and 3 nights had passed. Because of the battle between the 11 people, this place had long been turned into ruins, and there were cracks everywhere. Good. Very good. Very good. The black-robed elder stared at the man in green and Divine Key. He spoke as he attacked, and his face became much paler. The other 872 winged elders' faces also became very pale, and the coldness in their eyes became even more intense. After 3 days and 3 nights of battle, the 9 of them worked together and controlled the spirit-devouring diagram. Although they were no longer suppressed, they were not in the upper hand either. At this time, all of them were severely injured, and 90% of their saint power had been used up. The terrifying spirit-devouring diagram was already filled with cracks, and it was almost destroyed by the man and Divine Key. The 9 of them worked together and attacked with the spirit-devouring diagram, but they were forced to such an extent in the face of the man in green and Divine Key, who only had a strand of spiritual consciousness left. Compared to them, the man in green and Divine Key's situation was even worse. The man in green was covered in blood, and his saint power was about to dry up. He could not hold the sword in his hand firmly. As for Divine Key, who was protected behind him, his spiritual consciousness body became even fainter, and it was almost transparent, as if it would disappear completely in the next moment. They can't hold on any longer. In the distance, the white tiger looked ahead and became anxious. He did not look good. That spirit-devouring diagram is too troublesome. It's much more terrifying than the 72 winged elders. Now, the man in green and Divine Key were both very powerful. In a simple battle, the man in green alone could defeat 9 72 winged elders. However, the spirit-devouring diagram was too terrifying. There were endless murderous, resentful spirits that rushed out from it, and they could not kill them all no matter how hard they tried. Moreover, all of them were very terrifying. In the 3 days and 3 nights of battle, their saint power was rapidly depleted. Now, the man in green's saint power was almost depleted, and Divine Key's condition was even more unstable. It was difficult for him to continue fighting. Yeah. Beside him, the little Taichu was also anxious. Naturally, he could see the situation of the man in green and Divine Key. At this time, Lin Tian moved. All of you back off. Chapter 2181. Let's do it together. The white tiger said. Let's do it together. The little Taichu said as well. At this time, the man in green and Divine Key were already in a difficult situation. If Lin Tian wanted to make a move, they naturally wanted to as well. Even though they felt that they would be courting death if they went up now, they had no intention of retreating. Retreat, don't come over. Watch from afar. Lin Tian said as he used his gentle saint energy to push the little Taichu and the white tiger away. The 7-colored divine sword floated out from his body. When he came to this place, he had been communicating with the divine sword in his sea of consciousness. The divine sword had already responded to him. At this moment, he summoned the 7-colored divine sword from his sea of consciousness. He no longer concealed his aura. He grabbed the 7-colored divine sword and strode to the center of the mountain range. He slashed at the 972 winged elders who were attacking the man in green and Divine Key with all their might. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. The sharp sword chime was vast and mighty. A blinding 7-colored sword ray shot out and instantly pierced through everything. The 972 winged elders who were attacking the man in green and Divine Key with all their might narrowed their eyes. Someone made a move. He slapped down and directly shattered the 7-colored sword ray. At this time, Lin Tian appeared in the center of the mountain range. His figure fell into the eyes of the 972 winged elders of the Heaven Protector clan, Divine Key, and the man in green. Reincarnation body. Among the 972 winged elders, the black-robed elder spoke. His voice was cold, and his eyes were intertwined with a cold light. The other 872 winged elites also stared at Lin Tian. When the golden-robed elder returned, he had already mentioned Lin Tian's existence. Moreover, some of the ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court had also reported the existence of Lin Tian, the reincarnation body. Naturally, these people were no stranger to Lin Tian. At the same time, Divine Key saw Lin Tian and was also shocked. Lin Tian, why are you here? Divine Key, he is... The green-clothed man's clothes were stained with blood. At this time, he naturally knew that Lin Tian was here to help them. However, this was the first time he saw Lin Tian. Although he knew that Lin Tian was a reincarnated body, he didn't know Lin Tian's specific identity. Lin Tian, the Divine Key spoke. His spiritual awareness was very weak. He introduced Lin Tian to the man. Our daughter's husband. The green-robed man's expression changed, and his gaze fell on Lin Tian. You are. Lin Tian was the husband of the daughter he had never met. Wu Yi. That's her name. Lin Tiandao bowed towards the green-clothed man and Shun Ke at the same time. Wu Yi, the green-clothed man, and the Divine Key were both slightly startled. They had only just found out their daughter's name. Even the Divine Key had only heard the 2 words Yi from the little Taichu. Before this, he did not know his daughter's full name. At this time, a cold snort was heard. Murderous intent intertwined. It seems that you are a family. Among the 972 winged powerhouses, the purple-robed elder said. One betrayed the clan, one killed my people, and one dared to taint the reincarnation. Your family is really a good match. Beside him, the other 8 people's eyes were also cold. The murderous intent in their eyes was not concealed at all. It was bone-chilling. One of them directly raised his hand to grab Lin Tian. I didn't notice that a young, reincarnated body like you is in this place. However, it's good that you're here. The man said coldly. His large hand was intertwined with extremely dense holy light. The space around them froze immediately. They wanted to kill the green-clothed man and shun K directly. However, it was different for a reincarnated body. This kind of body was very important. They had to capture him alive. Get lost, the green-clothed man said. Seeing that the man was about to attack Lin Tian, he waved his long sword and slashed out a destructive sword light. At the same time, Shinkei pulled Lin Tian over and said, "We'll hold them back. Hurry up and leave this place." She could see that the sword in Lin Tian's hand was extraordinary. However, Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the ruler realm. Even with the help of the divine sword in his hand, even if the black-clothed elder and the others were far from their peak state, Lin Tian could not deal with them. Since I'm here, I've never thought of leaving alone. Either I send you all away first, or we leave together later. Lin Tian shook his head. As soon as he finished speaking, he activated the reincarnation forging spirit technique. His strength increased by 20 times, and his aura soared. Then, he waved the divine sword in his hand again. Following the green-clothed man, he slashed fiercely at the 72 winged elder. Clang! As he activated the reincarnation forging spirit technique and slashed out, the 7-colored divine sword's sword power also soared. It evolved into a 7-colored sword light that could destroy heaven and earth. Together with the green-clothed man's sword light, they slashed forward horizontally. The two people's sword power overlapped in the blink of an eye. With a poof, it directly pierced through the 72 winged elder's palm. Then it shattered his entire arm. Large amounts of blood splattered in the void. It was a shocking sight to behold. This scene infuriated the 72-winged old man who had attacked. The other 8 72-winged old men were also moved. And the 72-winged elder, whose arm had been shattered, glared at Lin Tian. His eyes were cold. The azure-clothed man was currently heavily injured. The strike Lin Tian had unleashed earlier could only block his descending palm at most. It was impossible for it to shatter his arm. The reason why his arm was shattered was because Lin Tian had unleashed another strike on top of the azure-clothed man's strike. With the two of them stacked together, the power of slaughter had increased explosively. At the same time, the divine key and the green-clothed man were also shocked. They could feel that Lin Tian's aura had suddenly increased by dozens of times. Then, the 7-colored divine sword in his hand also soared along with the sword power. The sword's momentum was much sharper. That sword is very unusual. It's very strong, very strong. Among the 972 winged elders, the black-clothed elder spoke. He stared unblinkingly at the 7-colored divine sword in Lin Tian's hand. His deep eyes even flashed with light. He said in a low voice, "Perhaps it's not inferior to the spirit-devouring diagram when it's in its complete state." The other 72 winged elders nodded in agreement. They were all ultimate powerhouses. Naturally, their eyesight was not bad. At this moment, they could see how terrifying the divine sword in Lin Tian's hand was. No matter how strong the sword is, it's just the sword. It's futile if the user is too weak. Suppress him and take that sword. The 72 winged elder whose arm had been shattered said coldly. Divine chains of order surged and pressed down mightily. Then, the other 8 72 winged elders moved as well. They all grabbed at Lin Tian. The surging saint power completely froze the surrounding space. Chapter 2182. The 972 winged beings attacked at the same time, pressing down on Lin Tian. Even though they were all heavily injured and had less than 90% of their saint power left, their power was still terrifying. It was enough to easily kill an ordinary sky-level powerhouse. Their saint power was terrifying. At the same time, the 9 of them controlled the spirit-devouring diagram together. Endless resentful spirits roared, their faces ferocious as they pressed down on the man in green and Shinki. Boom! This space was immediately filled with an extremely terrifying aura of destruction. In all directions of the void, the chaotic lights spread out one after another. The man in green roared. His body was covered in blood, and his saint power was almost depleted. He barely held up the void pagoda and attacked the spirit-devouring diagram together with the order. At the same time, he waved the 3-foot divine sword in his hand and faced the 972 winged powerhouses of the Celestial Guardian tribe who were grabbing at Lin Tian. He barely blocked the 9 giant hands and used a strand of sword chi to pull Lin Tian behind him. "Run," he said to Lin Tian with blood in his mouth. The 7-colored godly sword in Lin Tian's hand was extraordinary, and the sword ray that he unleashed with the help of the 7-colored godly sword was not weak either. However, he knew very well that it was impossible for him to truly contend against the black-robed elder and the others with just that. Even though the 9 of them were severely injured and had less than 90% of their saint energy left, if they were to truly fight, even if Lin Tian had that sword, he was far from being a match for them. After all, Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the Dominator rank. "Go!" he spoke again, shielding Lin Tian behind him. He used his almost depleted saint power to hold up the king's region. He waved the divine sword and blocked the attacks of the 9 people again and again. More and more blood gushed out of his mouth, and more cracks appeared on his body. He did not protect Shinki back then, and he did not see his daughter when she was born. All these years, he did not fulfill his duty as a father. Now that his daughter's husband was here, he had to protect him no matter what. "Lin Tian, let's go." Shinki also spoke. He supported the Holy Spirit region with his psychic sense and blocked the black-robed old man and the other 9 people with the cyan-robed man. He protected Lin Tian behind him and said, "We didn't fulfill our responsibilities as parents. We are sorry for her, and we don't have the face to see her. In the future, the person who will be by her side is you. No matter what, you must live." Lin Tian was protected behind the 2 of them, and he couldn't help but tighten his grip on the divine sword. "The 2 of you no longer pose any threat. With the spirit-devouring diagram, do you think it's possible for you to protect him?" Among the 972 winged elders, the purple-robed elder said coldly, "The 2 of you will die. He won't die for the time being. He has been tainted by reincarnation, and his sins are grave. He will pay a much heavier price than all of you." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a rumbling sound. The 9 of them held the spirit-devouring diagram together, and an even more frightening murderous aura surrounded them. Densely packed, resentful spirits rushed out from it. Each resentful spirit was extremely terrifying, as if they could devour everything. The cyan-robed man and Shinki resisted with difficulty. They were both shaken and trembled. More blood gushed out of the man's mouth, and the cracks on his body became denser. Shinki's psychic sense became even fainter. Just as the purple-robed elder said, the 2 of them were now at the bottom of their combat power. They were no longer a threat. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the distance, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The white tiger and little Taichu rushed over. "Brat, Master Tiger is here." "Yeah." From far away, the white tiger made his move. Holy light fluctuated and pressed toward the purple-robed elder and the others. At the same time, the little Taichu propped up the 6-colored divine flame, which seemed to be able to burn everything. It pressed down together with the white tiger's divine light. Lin Tian had asked them to retreat temporarily, but how could they retreat? Even though their strength was far inferior to Lin Tian's, and even though they knew that charging forward like this would most likely result in them being killed by the 9 people of the Heaven Protectors, they were not afraid at all. Just as the white tiger said, they were companions and comrades in arms. They would face both good and bad together. Moreover, Even if Lin Tian wasn't here, the green-clothed man and divine key were Wu Yi's parents. So, even if Lin Tian wasn't here and they were here, it was definitely impossible for them to leave by themselves. Rumble! The demonic and divine flames of the two rushed over and landed in front of the black-robed elder and the others in the blink of an eye. Then, the demonic and divine flames were directly annihilated. Just the aura of the 9 people's bodies was not something that their attacks could get close to. After all, they were only at the level of holy venerables. F***CK. Each of them is clearly injured so badly, but they are still so strong. The white tiger cursed angrily. The little Taichu was also angry. Yeah. Lin Tian looked at the white tiger and the little Taichu charging into the battlefield. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he was unable to open his mouth. In fact, he knew very well that even if he had asked them to retreat, they would not have done so. Descendants of the immortal spirit royalty. Very good. Today is destined to be a good harvest. That old demon, who knows where he has been hiding all these years. If we capture one of his descendants, I think he will jump out himself. The 972 winged elders looked at the little Taichu and the white tiger. They ignored the white tiger and coldly glanced at the little Taichu. As soon as they finished speaking, there was a rumble. The 9 people attacked again, causing the spirit-devouring diagram to tremble and more vengeful spirits to rush out. The space in all directions was completely frozen. These vengeful spirits were terrifying and were terrifying killing weapons. Each vengeful spirit was many times more terrifying than an ordinary divine weapon. Under the control of the 9 people, they mightily pressed down on Lin Tianyi and the others. The green-robed man and the divine key worked together to block all the vengeful spirits. All of you, hurry up and leave. Blood gushed out of the green-robed man's mouth as he shook the divine key away. Divine key you go to. Dazzling lights intertwined in his eyes as flames surged. His saint power began to gradually become chaotic and began to burn the origin. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword vibrated and resounded in all directions. Lin Tian activated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and the Reincarnation Forging Spirit Technique to the maximum at the same time. The 9-colored saint light rushed into the sky as he held the 7-colored divine sword and slashed forward with all his might. Together with the void pagoda of the green-robed man, a large number of vengeful spirits in front of him were temporarily blasted away. At the same time, he raised his hand and landed on the green-robed man's shoulder, pulling him back a few steps and stopping the man from burning the origin. I have never thought of dying. I will not die, and I will not let you die. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, an earth-shaking and extremely strange aura surged from his body. Vaguely, the roars of immortals and demons rushed out from his body, evolving into terrifying hurricanes. The black hair in front of his forehead was swept up by the hurricanes and danced wantonly. His eyes changed. 9 black moons appeared on both his left and right pupils, connected together by a special Tao chain. It was as if he could see through everything, but also as if he could destroy everything in the world. Suddenly, the flow of air in this place stopped. Invisible fate condensed and surged around him. This is Chapter 2183. Fate surged. It was the most ethereal thing in the world, but it gradually solidified at this moment. It revolved around Lin Tian and suppressed everything in the surroundings. Even the flow of time seemed to slow down. The expressions of the 9 heaven protectors changed at the same time. Some of them even trembled involuntarily. At the same time, the green-robed man and the divine key's expressions changed. They were stunned by Lin Tian's eyes. The pair of eyes from that time has appeared again, and the white tiger was shocked. Chi, destiny, it's solidifying. This. Beside him, the little Taichu had the same expression. It wasn't the first time they saw Lin Tian's eyes. They had seen them once before. However, at that time, they only felt that Lin Tian's aura had become extremely terrifying when he opened his eyes. It was as if he had become a completely different person. They didn't see the destiny solidifying. This time, they saw that pair of eyes again. Following that, the moment Lin Tian opened his eyes, the illusory luck in the world condensed on its own and gathered towards Lin Tian. They were the first to see it, and their eyes were filled with shock. A mere human. He actually, the purple-robed elder and the others stared at Lin Tian's eyes. The shock in their eyes was even more intense than before. The Eye of Destiny. The purple-robed elder clenched his fists. The white tiger heard the purple-robed elder's words and looked at Lin Tian's eyes. The Eye of Destiny? The Eye of Destiny is... It could feel the purple-robed elder's shock and knew that Lin Tian's eyes were called the Eye of Destiny. However, it didn't know what the Eye of Destiny was. The green-robed man and the divine key were beside Lin Tian. Like the purple-robed elder and the others, the shock in their eyes grew stronger and stronger. Their bodies trembled slightly. The three sacred eyes that can change the world, the Eye of Reincarnation, the Eye of Space-Time, and the Eye of Destiny. He controls destiny? The divine key was almost completely stunned. Outside of Lin Tian's body, fate energy condensed and circled around him. The black hair in front of his forehead danced in the wind, making him look like a god of heaven and earth. This was the third time he had opened his eyes, and it was much easier than the previous 2 times. Although the burden on his body was still huge, it was far less than the previous 2 times. Moreover, in terms of strength, it was far superior to the previous 2 times. He looked at the purple-robed elder, the black-robed elder, and the others. He glanced at the spirit-devouring diagram, the blue-robed man, and the divine key. Then his eyes fell on the divine key's spiritual consciousness. I saw it. As he opened his eyes, he could clearly see that the strands of power of order and several other terrifying corrosive forces that surrounded the divine key's consciousness had completely fused with the divine key's consciousness. They were constantly weakening the divine key's consciousness. Thus, he also knew that these things were the reason why the divine key was unable to completely return to its original state. He raised his hand, and the materialized fate energy surrounded him. Under his will, it entered the divine key's spiritual consciousness. Chi, chi, chi. There was a slight sound. In the blink of an eye, the power of order and corrosive forces in the divine key's spiritual consciousness were completely wiped out by the power of fate energy that he had mobilized. The divine key's spiritual consciousness trembled slightly. It had originally become very faint, as if it was going to disappear in the next moment. However, at this moment, it gradually became solid. They have disappeared. The divine key was shocked. This problem that had troubled her for God knows how many years had been solved by Lin Tian just by raising his hand. After this, as long as she was not destroyed, she would be able to reform her physical body in the future and truly embark on the path of return. At the same time, the purple-robed elder, the other 9 people, and the blue-robed man naturally felt the change in the divine key at this moment. Even the little Taichu and the white tiger, who were only in the holy venerate realm, could clearly see the change in the divine key's spiritual consciousness. The divine key. The blue-robed man was surprised and delighted. For a moment, he completely lost the attitude that a peerless expert should have. He was suddenly as happy as a child who had received candy. Then, he looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian, you? The divine key also turned her head and looked at Lin Tian at this moment. Shock, surprise, and other emotions intertwined. For a moment, she did not know what to say. Indeed, as you said, you didn't fulfill the slightest bit of responsibility as a father and mother to her. He looked at the blue-robed man and the divine key. Destiny energy surrounded his body. However, you did not let her down. The blue-robed man and the divine key did not take care of Wu Yi. Wu Yi was picked up by the previous ethereal mountain master and raised. However, Wu Yi was not abandoned by them. Among them, one did not know of Wu Yi's existence. The other was hunted down and sent Wu Yi away so that the infant Wu Yi would not be implicated. Although they did not fulfill any of their responsibilities as parents to Wu Yi, they deeply loved Wu Yi. The blue-robed man and the divine Qi trembled slightly. They opened their mouths and wanted to say something, but did not know what to say. Thank you. The divine Qi finally said these few words. She was a little choked up. She was a woman, a mother. Her daughter was her flesh and blood. How could she not want to raise her daughter in her arms? If it was not for the situation, how could she be willing to send her flesh and blood away? She was sincerely grateful for Lin Tian's understanding. Even if he has the ultimate divine eyes, he is only a sovereign. He is not a threat to us now. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Among the 972 winged beings, the purple-robed elder spoke. He stared at Lin Tian without blinking. He called out to the other 8 and said, "Let's not care about anything else for now. Suppress him first." "Do it." The black-robed elder and the other 8 nodded. At this moment, they attacked at the same time. All of their saint power pressed down on Lin Tian. At this moment, they temporarily ignored the blue-robed man and the divine Qi. They also activated the soul-devouring diagram. Blood Qi filled the sky. 9 waves of saint power pressed down. Countless vengeful spirits roared. The space around Lin Tian was instantly sealed. Unparalleled forces fell on Lin Tian. Lin Tian could naturally feel how terrifying the 9 people's attacks were. Even though he had opened his eye of destiny, his body still could not help but feel intense pain. It was as if he would be crushed by the 9 people's attacks in the next moment. The reason for this was because he knew very well that it was just as the purple-robed old man had said. Even though his eyes were very powerful, his cultivation level was only that of a ruler. In terms of cultivation level, there was simply too much of a difference between him and the other 9. However, he did not reveal the slightest trace of fear. Clang! He raised his hand and swung the 7-colored divine sword. A monstrous sword momentum moved along with the surrounding fate. It was unknown how many times stronger this sword was than the one he had slashed out earlier. It immediately disintegrated the 9 people's attacks and destroyed the resentful spirits one after another. Then, the 9 people were all sent flying. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.